I didn't know anything about Professor Dave until this back and forth. I think he's the perfect YouTuber to deal with this guy's madness, by the way. Especially at a time when so many YouTubers demonstrate cowardice with regular frequency because all they care about is their bag. None of them want to get yelled at. And this man is built different. He is thorough. He is ruthless. He's awesome. This is the Professor Dave video. Everything is crumbling for Destiny and Pangburn. Born and raised Texan, fuck Hot Wheels Abbott and his predecessors. Our Texas population has been subject to propaganda since birth. This video was entertaining yet devastating watch. Dave annihilated him. All right, let's do Professor Dave.
It's been a minute since I dropped this Hiroshima bomb, immaculately laying out the case for Israel's genocide against Palestinians and dunking on Destiny the fake progressive for denying said genocide. Well, now that the massive wave of damage control from his camp is over, it's time to drop the Nagasaki, so buckle up. If you haven't seen this video, go ahead and give it a watch first. It was a long time coming, given how much I've been talking about Israel and passing in other content, and I was quite pleased to see how many eyes I was able to open regarding the cesspool of immorality and disdain for human life that is Israel. Again, Destiny's cult went absolutely apeshit over it and brigaded my channel harder than any troll army has ever brigaded me before, perhaps with the singular exception of Matt Walsh's cult when I made some content about trans people. Congratulations, Destiny's cult, you're one notch less toxic than the Daily Wire lemmings, and I really mean just one small notch. While Matt's cult left comments shouting pedo and groomer literally every couple seconds for 2 full weeks. Destiny's cult left similarly toxic comments every 20 seconds or so for only 1 week, still desperately trying to change the optics in service of their loser hero. So I cut off their brigade just like I did for Matt, because that's what troll armies deserve, and they had a conniption about that too. All of this activity was perhaps the funniest part of the debacle to me. In my video, I specifically showed what a Zionist smear campaign from a bot army looks like. The fake copy-pasted Twitter posts that all use the same wording, the bot farm output on my channel that was just thousands of instances of this dumb comment, and yet that's exactly what these dumbasses did to my Destiny video. Almost like they didn't know that their behavior was predicted in the first 5 minutes of the video.
Yeah, they always do that. They always operate like bots. I think they do deploy bots too. Megaphonics, can I get my VIP back? Red names are invisible to me. Wow. You know, I did notice that I haven't been responding to Megaphonics as much because his VIP was taken away. For good reason. Because Megaphonics chose personal training over coming to the San Francisco Fear and podcast live taping. Fake fan.
And watch thousands of comments that all mention something about being brain broken and bringing up mental health and something about flat earthers. Dave is brain broken and he is the flat earther now, concerned for his mental health, profoundly transparent. This was of course happening on Reddit more than anywhere else with all the exact same language. Brain broken because he speaks out against genocide, totally not curated at all. And when they were deprived of their primary
I genuinely think so many of my haters spend such a long period of time watching me, like hate watching me, that they end up adopting my terminology. I feel like I haven't really heard other people say brain broken as much as I do. And I truly believe that a big part of this hate brigade, is constantly hate watching so much that they start talking like me.
Tactic, swarming a comment section with copy-paste spam comments to try and change the narrative. They had a complete meltdown.
Also, they repeat the same points and then engage in the active projection, of course. That's also awesome. Always and forever.
This despite the fact that Destiny's cult actively encourages him to block people and delete their comments, and they even do it on his behalf. Check this shit out. Destiny's IG comments are being flooded. We need to step up. It's gotta be stupid Hassan Piker, and we need to do something. Just delete the comments we don't like. Someone pull a double shift of deleting comments for me. Come on, warriors. And just blatantly talking about how curating comment sections for optics is the only thing that matters to them. Unreal. This is why completely erasing these loser hypocrites.
Destiny literally called on his audience to report this video to YouTube them out. They're such insane people, dude. They're like little cyber terrorists. They're so perfect for the Hasbara operation, honestly. And then they have the audacity to claim I brigade shit when I'm too busy with real politics, okay? Their only output is doing this, brigading YouTube videos and like mass harassing commenters that have hurt Destiny's feelings. You know, he's such a goddamn narcissist that anyone who has ever slighted him become the #1 op. All they do is just brigade shit all day, every day. It's one of the most insane things I've ever seen.
Is the only correct course of action. Letting them poison the optics is no good. If I combat their lies individually, I'm unhinged and crashing out. So instead, complete erasure is the obvious consequence, and they whine about that even though they specifically encourage it from their dear leader. Besides the meltdown from Destiny's cult, Destiny made a pathetic attempt at reacting to my video, where he basically just sat there either laughing and saying nothing, or skipping ahead frantically as I outlined the case for genocide he is ideologically bound to denying, like a young earth creationist listening to a geology lecture. That was expected, of course, but the big surprise was Travis over at Pangburn having a total meltdown, making something like 50 hours of content about my one video, becoming progressively more and more unhinged as he went. Just take a look at the run times of these reaction videos, as well as the titles of the more recent ones. In fact, that's part of the reason for the delay in making this follow-up video. I had to wrap up my incredibly extensive Fauci video, and then I had a short family vacation, but I also just had to let this wave of damage control wrap up simply to maximize the comedic impact of this video. I mean, truly, this guy is off his rocker. In case you don't know who Pangburn is, he hosted my vaccine debate where Dan Wilson and I humiliated Pierre Corey and Steve Kirsch. He also platforms Destiny regularly through his anti-Trump tour. In fact, Destiny seems to be the only way this guy makes money these days, which would explain why he would expose himself by coming to Destiny's defense, especially after some previous scandals he's had that we will outline later in the video. But the mask-off, full-blown genocide denial from him was definitely unexpected. Anyway, we're gonna go through Destiny's train wreck of a response, followed by select highlights from Pangburn's marathon damage control session, since it's absolutely hilarious. And for the cherry on top, we're going to go way deeper into Destiny's bizarre sexcapades involving minors and violation of consent. Because if his cult went this ape shit from my first video, why not give them a nervous breakdown? Hornet's nest, remember? Okay, let's get started by looking at Destiny's response. But which one? There are several. Every time Professor Dave lied in his hit piece. Was it really a hit piece, since for the vast majority of it I was talking about Israel's genocide and not him? That seems dishonest. Destiny reacts to Professor Dave's takedown video. WTF is this? This is me exposing you as a genocide denier. Oh, and then the damage control from the fans. Coward. Deranged hit piece. He's hiding and scared.
I think he's the perfect YouTuber to deal with this guy's madness, by the way. I didn't know anything about Professor Dave until this back and forth. I am so glad that this dude is an anti-Zionist, that he cares about genocide, especially at a time when so many YouTubers demonstrate cowardice with regular frequency because all they care about is their bag. None of them want to get yelled at. Every single one of them is terrified of these sorts of brigades. They see even people like myself get harassed endlessly and they go, I don't want to play a role in this at all. And this man is built different. He is thorough. He is ruthless. He uses the economy of language and time. He's awesome.
Look how unhinged I am in this AI-generated expression I've never made in my life. Destiny exposes Dave. He's so terrified. And Hassan Piker is in the thumbnail for literally no reason whatsoever. Dave's brain is broken. There's that phrase again. Okay, which one do we tackle? This long one seems to be the main one, so let's dig right into it, starting with the Stinger intro. Remember, the Stinger intro is always front-loaded with all the super awesome, most kick-ass moments where he is totally owning so hard. So if he's got any real ammo, we should see it right away, yeah? At any rate, influencers were being paid to disseminate the narratives that the state had settled on each day.
Who? I keep hearing this claim. Who's getting paid? I haven't met anybody. I didn't get paid. Who's getting paid for this? Source? No.
Yes, he is actually trying to pretend that Israel does.
Yeah, no, definitely. I love the big brain on this guy. He's like, oh, I'm sorry. Who's getting paid? Source? It's one of the most visible stories, dude. Do people in his audience, like, do they just not Google shit? Like when he says source, does no one in his audience actually go, you know what? I am going to Google that. Israel pays Hasbara. Wow. From the Quincy Institute for Responsible Statecraft, the eighth front inside Israel's $1 billion influence operation. Jerusalem Post. Israel spends millions to influence U.S. opinion. The Times of Israel. Israel just quintupled its PR budget to $730 million. Oh, wow. That's it. That's all you needed to do.
Doesn't pay influencers to disseminate propaganda. It is absolutely trivial common knowledge that Israel does this.
We have to fight with the weapons that apply to the back.
I mean, how could you say Benjamin Netanyahu is in any way, shape, or form reflective of Israel's policies? He's just one guy. Oh, I guess all Jews agree with the leader of the Israeli state. I mean, whatever. He's just one guy. What's next? Everybody in Israel agrees with Benjamin Netanyahu? Why is Netanyahu a trustworthy resource? Source?
Fields in which we engage. And the most important
What
one
is he, the prime minister?
on social media. We have to fight back. How do we fight back? Our influencers.
Yes, they fight with their weaponized influencers on social media, says Bibi himself. The most recent incarnation of this activity is called the Esther Project, financed through Bridges Partners LLC, where influencers are paid up to $7,000 per post to promote Hasbro narratives. As you just saw, Bibi has publicly admitted this.
Well, actually, Israel unironically reneged on that offer and is being sued by Elon Levy and many others because they just didn't deliver the payouts. What is this? XQC, he shows it right now. The fuck about XQC? Sunun is the rare Republican with bona fides of standing up to Israel. Pappas is one of AIPAC's top recipients. 78% of New Hampshire Dems say Israel's committing a genocide. Storm brewing here. That is crazy.
Describing social media as the most important weapon, acknowledging that it's the reason they arranged for a Zionist takeover of TikTok, which we talked about in the other video. This has been going on well before October 7th, so you bet your ass it was happening with the greatest intensity immediately after October 7th, since that was the most crucial period for manufacturing consent from the American public for a pre-planned genocide America would be funding.
Just 3 days after October 7th, Israel launched an initiative to recruit social media influencers in the United States to defend Israel. A spokesperson said, "Fighting on social networks and influencing international public opinion is critical during wartime. The world must understand that Israel's struggle is one of light against darkness, a life-loving culture versus lowly terrorists." It's obvious why Israel needs propaganda. The only way to have a country based on legalized racial supremacy is through propaganda, like Nazi Germany and Jim Crow apartheid had, that twists the reality of the situation. And Israel actually has its own word for propaganda, which is Hasbara, which translates to explain in Hebrew. In the weeks following October 7th, Israel already had a lot to explain. A number of American influencers got emails offering them $5,000 and brand sponsorships in exchange for doing a single live stream supporting Israel. The email read, "I'm reaching out to you on behalf of a global collective of agencies, influencers, and content creators who are coming together to raise awareness about the difficult situation in Israel."
And that's American influencers. What the did you think was happening in Israel? It wasn't just Elon Levy, one of the shitstains Destiny interviewed in his Israel adventures, who pushed the beheaded babies and other bullshit narratives. Hundreds of influencers posting round the clock. As
I think Hasanabi can still save XQC. No. Dude, XQC is so far down the resentment rabbit hole that I could literally, like, I could talk about how Kick is awesome and I love crypto gambling streams, and he would drop it. He would be like, "Oh, dude." He straight up hates my ass. Okay, straight up. I can't save XQC. Maybe therapy could. He despises me so much. Yeah, I could save his life doing CPR and he would still hate me. He'd be like, "Nope, let me die, dude."
I mentioned in my previous video, I heavily regret not documenting this period with extensive screenshots of all the Hasbro frauds and my efforts in exposing them. I recall that Hen Mazig was one. He's been posting pro-Israel propaganda all day, every day for years. Ella Keenan was another. She was the one who tried to smear me on LinkedIn, pretending to have been a viewer of mine who was disappointed with my anti-Semitism. The typical copy-paste script, which again, I should have documented. She flat out identifies as a digital marketing professional and content creator, spearheading a diplomacy impact effort, utilizing tens of thousands of social media users. In other words, since October 7th, she has been paid by Israel to organize and disseminate propaganda on social media full-time. She came up with the Hamas is ISIS bullshit that was blasted all over the internet and on my channel, since brand name recognition is important for getting Americans to hate random brown people. Hear it from her if you like.
What we do is, let's call it digital assets that serve the Jewish people in a more strategic manner. We got to close to 3 billion views since the beginning of the war, completely organic. We work with communities of over 60,000 people around the world that make our content viral, but also help us report anti-Semitic rhetoric and fake news, and therefore take it down, and other actions that do serve the narrative. Israelis and Jews in general, we tend to respond rather than to set the agenda and initiate. You know, they say genocide, we explain why it's not a genocide. They say apartheid, we explain why it's not, right? So I offered Hamas is ISIS, and I offered why, and I gave a short 101 on how we can garner attention and traction around that narrative, and that worked. So in 3 to 4 days, it became the most viewed narrative online. It became viral for almost 3 months around the world, in some places even more. And it even got to Biden's speech.
Again, this activity is a full-time job, which means they are paid for it. People don't do things full-time unless it earns them money. Israel has a lot of money, and they spend it on shit like this. And while the prominent, well-paid influencers orchestrated the propaganda, bot farms were also crucial in this endeavor.
But the most egregious part of Israel's online strategy is its use of fake bot accounts that spam pro-Israel comments and posts online. An investigation by the Al Jazeera Media Institute revealed hundreds of accounts created shortly after October 7th with around 50 to 100 followers pretending to be Arabs and constantly posting comments criticizing the Palestinians, regional resistance groups, and Iran. These accounts would mainly target pages that were popular in the Arab and Muslim world like Al Jazeera and TRT. Their comments would mainly blame the Palestinians for the destruction they're facing and portray them as beggars who were ungrateful for the aid they were getting from other Arab countries. These accounts would also start dialogues with each other, where one fake account would post a comment and another fake account would respond, which indicates that they aren't individual accounts, but that they're part of an organized effort. No one took responsibility for this, but Israel has admitted to using bot farms in the past. During Israel's massacre against Gaza in 2021, the Israeli army used bots to promote a hashtag Gaza regrets.
Israel uses every tool of subversion they can, every tool at their disposal, every single one. Bot accounts, influence peddling, having like direct Hasbara operatives prominently placed on nightly news programs, sometimes getting paid directly by the Israeli Foreign Ministry. Like Scott Jennings works for Salem Media. Okay, Scott Jennings, who is trying to become the next White House press secretary. That's Scott Jennings, who slandered me. Scott Jennings is directly paid by way of Salem Media through Brad Parscale by the Israeli Foreign Ministry. It's crazy. That's crazy. We just don't even talk about it. We're just like, no, that's normal. That's a normal thing. Like if Qatar was doing this, it would be nightly news. Everyone would talk about it nonstop.
To try to rally support for Israel's war. And while the military admitted it was using fake accounts and even apologized for it, the Israeli government continues to employ people to defend Israel online and pledge to target teenagers in its next online campaign.
And yet, despite all of this effort, public opinion of Israel is so firmly in the toilet that Israel has quintupled down on this strategy and has approved an astronomical record budget of $730 million for Hasbara in 2026. Nearly $1 billion courtesy of Havas Media Group to convince people on social media that Israel isn't doing genocide. So I'm sorry, Destiny, you're either lying about not getting a slice of that, or you're a clueless asshat with no idea what's happening, since Israel has been paying influencers unthinkable sums of money for many, many years. You might just be the only moron shilling for Israel for free purely despite Hasan, which is mind-blowing. Hell, that was only the first 10 seconds. What could possibly be next? They watched their land being usurped and given to settlers.
The bullshit map. The map. Not the map.
Not the map.
Hasambara.
Not the map that illustrates how well over half of Palestine was taken to form Israel, and then most of what they were left with has been slowly stolen from them through settlements that are illegal under international law. How dare I use a map to illustrate apartheid and ethnic cleansing? Great rebuttal. Oh yeah, I promised some other dirt on this guy. As if the genocide denial wasn't enough, here's a few other tips.
Whoa! Can we... Pedophile. Let's go!
Here he is advocating for white nationalists murdering BLM pro-
Oh yeah! The greatest hits! IMAX it up. Let's go!
Yes, the greatest hits, also known as a long list of absolutely heinous and disgusting shit you've said. Glad to see you're as amused by it as we are. And thus ends the stinger intro. Packed to the brim with ponage, as you can see. Yes, that really was all he could scrape together to front load this train wreck. But let's comb through the rest to really drive home how pathetic this was.
I think this guy got big mad that I called him anti-Semitic. Which, the video that he made criticizing that Avi Loeb dude, it absolutely was weird as
No, my videos exposing Avi Loeb are not anti-Semitic. He's just on the anti-Zionism equals anti-Semitism train that I demolished in my video he's about to react to. So let's see how he handles that when he gets there. Whether he is being paid by Israel or is genuinely just dumb enough to have fallen for Israeli propaganda and is in too deep now to admit it, I can't say. But he recently decided to poke the hornet's nest by doing a particularly slanderous live stream about me, accusing me of being a Jew.
Slanderous?
Hating neo-Nazi. It's called Professor Dave Goes...
Okay, I don't think I ever accused him of being a neo-Nazi. I'm just pointing out that the rhetoric he's using is neo-Nazi rhetoric. The deception and self-victimization are like the two big tenets of like neo-Nazi criticism. But I don't think he's a neo-Nazi. I think he's a tanky. Well, I don't even think he's a tanky, actually. He's just mind on Israel-Palestine, like the entire United States is, I guess, or the world is.
I'm a tanky now. Yes, I'm constantly glazing Stalin, or whatever the tanky even means. You really just talk completely out of your ass at all times, huh? Anyway, yeah, you said I used Nazi rhetoric, which is essentially calling me a Nazi, even though pointing out how...
These guys are... They do this all the time where, like, anyone... Ethan Klein does this as well. He'll call anyone and everyone a snarker. Okay? Like, anyone that opposes them, oh, they must be a snarker. I guess you could say that about me as well, where I'll say, oh, well, they must be an Israel defender. The problem is everyone that opposes me, it has defended Israel at some point. That's it. There are those who are not Zionists. There are those who are maybe duped by the barrage of negative media coverage. But by and large, whenever prominent politicians come out and do this like wave of disavowals, they're all AIPAC backed.
Israel lies and plays the victim is just acknowledging reality.
Yeah, I got ops in every flavor, I guess, so it's a little bit different. So I, sometimes it's ultras, sometimes it's Zionists, sometimes it's sex pestiny cultists.
Like a adult. And your thumbnail implied that I hate all Jews, which was kind of the main thing with the Nazis. So you were calling me a Nazi, which is slander, and that is why I decided to expose you as a worthless Zionist piece of shit. You brought this on yourself. Remember that.
Most of what you're hearing about Hamas is fabricated, and whatever isn't doesn't amount to 0.1% of what Israel has done to Palestine over the past 75 years. Get your priorities straight. They're under a military occupation. The radicalization is Israel's fault. Ha! Minimize non-combatant casualties? Holy f***, you are naive. Israel routinely does what Hamas did. They did it today. Who's talking about it? Nobody. Pre-planned evil? They have a military occupation of Palestine. Just stop being ridiculous. This is October 10th. This guy's unhinged. I don't know how many tweets I've archived here, but holy shit.
Yeah, this is a section where he just reads old tweets of mine that Canary Mission captured in a cartoonish, angry voice and doesn't even attempt to respond to them. It's really pathetic.
Yeah, also, he's right. Like, what is this? Is this what amounts to like the brilliant mind of Mr. Debate? He just reads tweets angrily without opposing them. He's just signaling that he opposes it. There's no information in them at all. Ethan literally said you were engaging in Islamo-communism law. Oh my God, that's awesome. He has lost his mind. I mean, he had lost his mind a long time ago. This is what's left of him. This is what you and Mike did to him. Bro, I didn't do this to him. He did this to himself. I just stopped talking about him for 7 years until he decided to become the #1 Hasbara merchant. That's it. He started peddling Hasbara non-stop. And that's when I started talking about him again, because I was like, this person is like presenting himself as a liberal, but also pro-genocide. That's unacceptable.
Israel does spread propaganda about Hamas. The few hundred people they killed on October 7th don't even remotely hold a candle to the tens of thousands Israel slaughtered prior, or the hundreds of thousands since. And they are indeed the product of an extended brutal military occupation, which has specifically been funded and supported by Netanyahu since their inception. People who are brutally oppressed and subjugated for decades become radicalized against their oppressors. It's not that weird. Then for the next one, it's obviously me pushing back on some paid Hasbara operative lying to the whole internet about how Israel does everything it can to minimize civilian casualties, when in fact Israel specifically targets civilians at all times. This was during the first blatant carpet bombing campaign early in the genocide, when they were just destroying entire city blocks with zero regard for who they killed, because I already knew back then that this was what they had in mind, which is easily confirmed by looking at the sea of rubble that is Gaza today. Glad to see that Destiny has intelligent responses to these obvious facts and isn't just humiliating himself with empty pageantry. But as long as we're looking at old tweets, since he seems to think that mine are so unhinged and indefensible, maybe we should play a quick round of defend that tweet, don't you think? I just defended these two quite easily. Now it's Destiny's turn. Okay, so this user named Babygirl said to Steven, ignoring a safe word and not stopping when someone asks is ignoring consent and is rape. Go f yourself. Wow, it sounds like Destiny was implying that if you're having sex with someone and they ask you to stop, you totally don't have to, and it's not rape to continue them while they scream no repeatedly. That's pretty messed up, but hang on, maybe she misunderstood him. I bet he's gonna reply and clear everything up. Kill yourself, you f***ing I hope you get raped with a f***ing shovel until you bleed out your f***ing vag and die holy. Wow, Steven, that's pretty graphic and uncalled for, but since I had a chance to explain my—
This guy had the audacity to use a clip out of context and make it seem like I'm in any way, shape, or form supportive of rape, by the way. And he still peddles that shit nonstop. This has straight up actively said things like this over and over again. It still does to this day, by the way. Shannon Watts, that's your guy. That's your guy, Shannon Watts. That's your guy, Neera Tanden. Y'all like this guy, Bulwark? Bulwark, that's your man's. Talks like a 4chan teenager. He's been a 4chan teenager his whole life, dude. What do you mean?
Tweets that you mocked without actually saying anything. It's only fair that we give you the same chance. So, Steven, defend that tweet! Oh, I'm sorry, Steven, that's not gonna cut it. I guess your tweet is just totally indefensible, and you're a disgusting monster with zero regard for female bodily autonomy, huh? I guess combing through old tweets of mine wasn't such a great idea, now was it? Let's get back to the video, big guy. A fabrication of 40 beheaded babies, which Joe Biden himself publicly claimed to have seen photographs.
He said he saw photographs of beheaded babies. He shouldn't have said this. I don't know where. He might have actually seen it though. But this claim was not originated by Israel. It was I think it was a, somebody said Channel 4. Is that a French outlet that up and spread this claim? But
maybe he saw them? No, he didn't, because it doesn't exist. You're simultaneously admitting that this wasn't true and then speculating as to whether Biden actually saw it? What? Biden said it because Bibi asked him to. It's clear as day. Destiny is pretending that some French news network made up this claim. It was being pushed by every single Israeli official and Hasbara influencer on the internet. The IOF conjured it out of thin air. It spread to journalists. It was confirmed by an Israeli spokesperson and then echoed by the President of the United States. The president told Americans he saw pictures of 40 beheaded babies because Bibi told him to say it to help manufacture consent for genocide. This is not a little oopsie. This is manifesting anti-Arab sentiment to greenlight the slaughtering of Palestinians. Later, he admitted he didn't actually see it since nobody was going to let that shit slide, but the damage of the initial claim had been done. This is how propaganda works. Anyone diminishing this should not be taken seriously ever. Endless claims of rape when in fact it is Israel that systematically rapes Palestinian prisoners in the most brutal manner imaginable.
People don't talk about it much because nobody pushes these people because nobody actually cares. Also, I don't know why they say, I know why. It's not 75 years of occupation. It would be like 60 years, but whatever. People say that, fuck, I just myself. Oh, they don't believe that any rapes happened on October 7th. Or if they did, it was like one or two bad apples. All of them are consistent on this position. There's never really pushed on much.
What? I just brought up Israel's track record of persistent systematic sexual abuse as a method of torture. He made no comment on that, said that many people pushed back on the allegations of rape on October 7th, and then neither refuted that position nor condemned Israel's obsession with raping people. What a farce. A behind-the-scenes clip of a Lebanese short film used to claim that Palestinians were faking the war crimes against them, yielding the birth of the disgusting term Pallywood. Claims of immense networks of Hamas bases underneath hospitals to justify the bombing of every single hospital in Gaza, only to provide zero evidence of such bases after the fact, except a few planted guns.
Everybody acknowledges this. Even Amnesty International. Everybody acknowledges that these are bases that are used or co-opted. Like Amnesty International in 2014 did big reports on Al-Shifa Hospital, for instance, being used by Hamas for torturing people and as a base of operations. And there's like tunnels underneath. It was a huge blow to UNRWA's credibility when they discovered another big like underground thing that was right next to like the entrance of the hospital in such a way that they obviously knew they were operating there. But
it's so funny because this is the level of brain rot you have to be on to believe the attempts that Israel makes that are so bad. Like you have to just straight up be the #1 fan of Israel to look at like Israel's operations in terms of legitimizing the tunnel systems under hospitals narrative and shit like that, which by the way, even then it's not justification to bomb a hospital regardless. But like they didn't even do a good enough job. They didn't even lie to you adequately. They pointed to a calendar and said, this is a terrorism list. And then everyone was like, dog, we speak Arabic. That's just a calendar. What are you talking about? And then on top of that, they were like, look at these tunnels. They have tunnels. It's Hamas tunnel. And we can't show you tunnel. We can't show you Hamas tunnel. Hold on. Look, here is gun in MRI room. This is gun for terror.
Everybody acknowledges this? That's funny because no, they don't, especially Amnesty International, who said the precise opposite of what you just claimed. You blew right past the ridiculous CGI video I showed of an incredibly elaborate system of tunnels and rooms filled with weapons and whatnot, as well as Israel's pathetic attempt to substantiate this claim upon raiding Al-Shifa. They could have filmed their entry live on body cams and shown everyone this elaborate terrorist base, no? Instead, they delayed for the better part of a day, and when they finally showed everyone what was inside, it was just a few guns they planted next to an MRI machine and a list of terrorists that was really a calendar. That's all. They released a video showing a tunnel and 2 small rooms, which could have been anything. Zero evidence of terrorist activity. Amnesty International, along with anyone else possessing a fully functional brain, specifically said that they have seen no credible evidence to support the claim that Al-Shifa housed a military command center. The New York Times said the same, despite often shilling for Israel. Lies are all you have, Stephen. Several hours after entering, and a list of terrorists that was really a calendar. A tidal wave of lies in the form of social media activity that was viewed by many millions of people. Endless dehumanizing rhetoric to garnish...
People say this. Where the was the mountain of Israeli propaganda after October 7th? It was exclusively pally slop. You can tell this too because these people, by the way, today, people like Professor Dave or Hassan will still tell you that big hospital bombing on like the 13th or whatever, that was an Israeli JDAM that hit a hospital and killed 500 people. It was like a Palestinian Islamic Jihad like rocket misfire that maybe I think like hurt like 30 or 40 people or whatever. Like it was not a missile.
What the are you rambling about? Israel has bombed every single hospital in Gaza. 90% are completely non-operational. Just a couple are operating with highly limited capacity. This moron is whining about who bombed one of the the hospitals, as if to say that Israel doesn't bomb hospitals. They've bombed every single hospital in Gaza, every single one. They also specifically targeted and slaughtered doctors. Pally slop my ass. You know, horrible, vile anti-Semites like Miss Rachel, the children's content creator who scandalously requested on social media that Israel stop bombing children and who can be found singing songs with Palestinian double amputee toddlers. How dare she humanize children who have had their legs children and who can be found singing songs with Palestinian double amputee toddlers. How dare she humanize children who have had their legs blown off by inhuman monsters. As part of these smear attempts, founder of Stop Anti-Semitism, Leora Rez, and other wastes of human life. I'm explaining how Ms. Rachel qualified as Anti-Semite of the Week for requesting that Israel stop bombing children and singing songs with Palestinian double amputee toddlers. His response is to smile like a creep and mutter dude under his breath or whatever the he said. This is the whole video. I'm going to talk a lot about how awful Israel is. Truly, they are the most potent force of pure evil in the world since the Nazis.
Jesus Christ.
The less that Destiny has to say, the higher in pitch he goes. Yes, the Nazis exterminated Jews, and Zionists exterminate Palestinians. The disregard for human life is identical. Shouting Jesus Christ sarcastically is not a refutation of this obvious fact.
A lot of these things are like half-truths or like crazy people interviewing. I think that Yoav Gallant thing, I think I've looked it up before. I think he was explicitly referring to Hamas when they were going into fight, though. This was said, like, I think within a week or two, I think after.
Isn't this also projection? Like, don't the sex pestiny cultists constantly say, I never refute people's claims? I just go, dude, and I just yell or something. I'd certainly offer a lot more response towards claims being made, erroneous claims being made by people in my opposition than whatever the fuck this guy's doing. I didn't realize so much of this was just pure posturing. It's actually, I just noticed that I don't really watch any long Destiny videos at all. Like I simply see clips every now and then when he says something like super unhinged, like how he doesn't know if he would vote for AOC over JD Vance, like, stupid shit like that. Why would you? That's true. I think I watch more Asmongold videos than I do Destiny, honestly. Kind of funny when you think about it.
The war began, because I think that quote made it into the,
I guess it makes
the
sense
South African
because he is utterly irrelevant
case that they brought against Israel for the genocide prevention stuff. And I feel like I looked into the source of that quote, and I think a few of them that they'll say they're talking about all Palestinians, but they're referring to Hamas.
Nope, they're talking about Palestinians, always. I showed so many clips and statements where genocidal intent towards all Palestinians is explicitly expressed. Nuh-uh is not an argument. Pretty up, huh? A chuckle and a grin is your response to Israeli Karens chanting about wanting to burn villages down while jazzercising or whatever the fuck this is. Great contribution.
A lawmaker from the far-right Otzma Yehudit party told the Knesset on Wednesday that there are no innocent civilians, no innocent children in Jenin, I think they might call this. Okay, so this is a fairly unhinged quote, but like this is like a...
It's also really funny because they'll dagger certain points that he identifies over and over again, and they'll run into the ground. Like, one of the most common ones is like, I know what the Western Wall is, but I don't know it's, or said at the time, I didn't know what its like religious significance is, right? And they clip that and they run it all the time to be like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. And it's so funny because I'm like, yeah, I didn't know at the time what its religious significance was. I don't give a shit. It's fine. They're like, how could you say you know anything about Israel? It's like, I know a lot more than all of you do about the history of the conflict. And the current political formations in Israel, where Israel is headed politically.
This Jenin is known as a place that you shouldn't go because you'll probably get killed. Like, even our Palestinian tour guide that was willing to take us to Nablus wouldn't take us to Jenin. That's like, I'm not saying that that's an acceptable quote, but that's like I think I see it as like one of the most, like, you're gonna get rocked if you go to this place.
This is a psychotic thing. To defending Otzma Yehudit is wild, by the way. Jewish Power Party. Well, these Klansmen might be completely correct about going to Jacksonville, you know what I mean? These Klansmen might, well, when you think about it, this black neighborhood is very scary, and the White Power Party says so, and I guess technically they're right. That's the equivalent of what he is saying. That's what Otzma Yehudit is. It's the Jewish Power Party.
It's bad to say that...
What a miserable life you live, Loss, is killer sales guy, buddy. Let me tell you something, okay? As someone who did sales back in the day, 0% chance my life is as miserable as yours, okay? No disrespect. I know that shit sucks, okay? You could be the biggest killer as a sales guy, and you know your life is ass. Not an equivalent, a translation? Yeah, no, I'm saying like it's an equivalent to the white power party in America. Otzma Yehudit means Jewish power party. That's a translation. Not to cook your ass, but one of the worst jobs, I think. They are swarming you to stop from watching. Oh, true.
Children aren't innocent, but this is a super bad place, so it's okay to say it about that place. Murdering children in that specific town is therefore more defensible. Are you listening to this douchebag? Revital Gottlieb of the Likud party says, bring down buildings, bomb without distinction, stop with this impotence.
Like, I would never defend the crazy. There are some insane Israelis, like there are, but you can find them saying insane stuff all the time. It's really weird to come down on somebody saying insane shit like on October 7th, though.
It doesn't matter what the date is. Genocidal intent is genocidal intent, and you are indeed defending it. And they say this shit all the time. Before October 7th and after it, too. Countless such statements in this video.
Come on, let him be a little genocidal. It's October 7. Like, that's crazy. Okay, well, you know, that's definitely not a defense that they can deploy in the International Court of Justice, which is where a lot of these genocidal intent arguments are being discussed currently. Come on! Just a crumb, dude. Just a crumb of child murder being justified. Come on.
That you blow right past without acknowledging.
Destiny, why don't you just debate Dave? Dave will never talk to me on this subject. The pro-pallies have to remain as isolated as possible on this topic because they know nothing about the region, they know nothing about the history, and they have no prescriptions for what to do in this place.
No, I won't talk to you about this because you're a worthless genocide-denying propaganda peddler who will just motormouth a meth-fueled, gish-galloped avalanche of lies and unrelated minutia to deflect from the very obvious genocide you deny. There's no point.
That's awesome. Dude, Motormouth is excellent. Bars. Motormouth is
I know
bars,
plenty about
baby.
the region and its history. That's how I know about the decades of occupation and apartheid that this genocide is a continuation of. That's how I knew on October 7th that it was the beginning of ethnic cleansing and land acquisition, not a war against terrorists. That's why I was booted from Twitter. And sorry, no prescription? You mean like I don't know what should be done in the region? Just like all these idiot trolls shout at anyone who exposes Israel's genocide? Of course I do. Everyone with a brain and a conscience knows. Dismantle the state of Israel. Remove all Zionists from any position of power. Call the region Palestine, and everyone there can live under a new governing body with equal rights. End apartheid. End occupation. It's not that hard to wrap your head around. Too bad having a brain and a conscience doesn't come along with the political power to do anything about it, right, dumbass? Israeli politician Moshe Feiglin states outright that Hamas is not the enemy. It's every child in Gaza. Every child. Toddlers. Babies. Babies are terrorists. Anyone who would say this is a sadistic monster.
Who said that? Who says that? Who's the famous baby settler guy?
Who's the famous baby settler guy? I'm showing bloody children, which are the reason my video was demonetized, despite his idiot troll army insisting I was lying about that, along with statement after statement demonstrating genocidal intent towards all Palestinians, including children.
Oh, I bet he was trying to say I'm the one who said that, not Moshe Feiglin. What is this? DSCC lol. Avengers Doomsday full video. Wait, what?
They're not very experienced at navigating.
Our work ethic is broken.
We've got to be willing to give up just a little bit of our own personal luxuries, right?
And people living in poverty are just not very, they're not very experienced at navigating.
Just try to be patriots about this.
Okay. I don't know who the working at the Senate Democrats social media team, but that's a great post. Look, I'm sorry. That is actually excellent posting. I cannot believe it. They keep making banger videos for Abdul too. I hate it. I hate giving it to him, but god damn, dude. It's the Filipina chick, bro, the one running the TikTok. Oh, true. The one that got married recently. And I only know this because they were calling her a virgin, I think. They were like, oh, you're an ugly virgin. Then she was like, I'm actually getting married tomorrow. Shout out to my Swagapinos. Why do you know that? Because what was it? There was some controversy where the Republicans were like, who's running this account? And then they were like, found who she was. And then they were blasting her on the timeline. And they were saying she's like an ugly cat lady and devoid of a husband or something. And then she was like, I'm actually getting married. Oh, it was the Stephen Miller shit. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, they tried to call her ugly and alone. And she was like, I'm actually getting, yeah, because she said Stephen Miller is a bald. Yeah. Yeah, she's beast mode. Who authorized this project? Big yikes. Liberalism but based? Really? Your name is Liberalism but based F. Kennedy, and you said big yikes? It's the same length as Dr. Dave. Yeah.
And his response is to bring up some random thing that Hasan Piker said once that his camp will forever quote out of context to demonize him. Who takes this douchebag seriously? He is deflecting from Israel, explicitly stating that they want to murder children and images of injured children as a stand-in for videos of murdered children I couldn't show without risking my entire channel being deactivated. Again, archivegenocide.com exists for anyone with the courage to see for themselves what's been going on in Gaza. Children are being murdered, and Destiny's response is to lie about Hasan Piker. Astounding. They openly announced that they intend to commit genocide, not just random nut jobs on social media. Israeli officials, legislators, military personnel, decision makers, they all state this openly, the desire to completely wipe out the Palestinian population. Take a second and read this crap. This is a drop in the bucket. You listen to any of these assholes for long enough, you get some shit like this about human animals, or Amalek, who their God commanded them to destroy in the Torah. Stevie, I was telling you, specifically, to pause and read those statements. That's the very...
Egg Boy coming after your stands now? What? The anti-Piker people don't like Piker and don't like Abdullah Sayed and want him to lose, but what the pro-Abdullah Sayed people are trying to accomplish, do they want to assuage concerns about him and get pro-Israel Dems to support him, or do they want to get mad online? There is no pro-Israel Democratic Party constituency. It's not a real, oh my God, I'm losing my mind, okay? There is no like Israel first voter base, okay? It does not exist. It is so marginal that it is utterly irrelevant. We're talking about a 90-10 issue, okay? Every single time people say this, they should be treated as saying, well, what about the Democrats that actually think abortion is murder? Because that's what it is. As a matter of fact, even that's too favorable to the Israel position, because Israel-Palestine is now a 90-10 issue, as in Israel is less popular. Israel is the pro-Israel position in the Democratic Party constituency is less popular than abortion restrictions. What the It blows my mind. You got like in Michigan, you got like 80% of Michiganders being like Israel committed a genocide. You got like 69% of Michiganders who are saying we got to do an embargo on Israel. And these guys are still like, no, I don't know. What about the pro-Israel Democrats? What? I would say two different things. One, Israel was not a major factor in the election. There wasn't any genocide. Yeah, okay. He's not a Democrat. He is irrelevant. It's Matt Iglesias. He doesn't live in Michigan. He's irrelevant, okay? I like that you said, well, there's one guy. There's one pro-Israel Democrat. Since then, Matt Iglesias has basically waved the white flag on the issue, by the way. He literally urges Democrats to come on my stream and to shit on Israel just so they can, I don't know, push for like a deregulatory agenda or something or whatever the fuck he cares about. You understand? Kind of impressed with this one. We have too much democracy. We have too little discrimination. The idea that we need absolute deference to mass opinion on technical questions of utility regulation, but no compromise with the electorate on who plays girls' volleyball team is a really perverse way of talking about politics or thinking about politics. That's awesome. Am I crazy, or was Matt full-on conservative pre-Trump? I mean, he's a windsock. You can't identify his position. He's just a mercenary. He will defend... He's got like kooky ideas that he actually does lean into, that he does believe, like the 1 billion Americans idea. But outside of that, he's just whatever people pay him to be. Wait. And the reason I say this is dumb is because I've gotten more pussy than dudes who have cars. The cars and what gets you laid. It's sad he thinks that. That's probably a bot, guys. I don't think that person is reacting to what he thinks is going on in the video. Anyway, let's get back to Dave.
Clear genocidal intent you're pretending was limited to October 7th and excusing like a lunatic. This is me proving you wrong. You're watching it and saying nothing because you have nothing to say, because you know it's genocide. They proudly announce genocidal intent and then later deny the actualization of that intent when accused of the genocide they are committing, gaslighting the world with rhetoric about how the IOF is the most moral army in the world, rather than the reality
gaslight the world, true.
that they are actual terrorists. Yes, I explained how Israel gaslights everyone, and his response is to sarcastically repeat what I said. And this dumbass wants to debate people?
Do you like Palestinian children?
Yes.
Does it make you feel good when you in a hospital? Really?
Yes.
You guys children.
What are these videos?
What are these videos? These are videos of Israeli soldiers admitting to murdering children. You're laughing like a lunatic.
In full gear, by the way. Like, oh man, Israeli OPSEC. Hey, Destiny knows all about Israeli OPSEC, remember? Who could forget when he went to Israel on that Hasbara trip, and on that Hasbara trip, he told the IDF soldiers to hide that they're doing war crimes.
and saying nothing. Do you condemn Israeli soldiers deliberately murdering children? This would be a good time to go on the record stating that you condemn Israeli soldiers deliberately murdering children. No? Just gonna breeze right past that? Got it.
How many Palestinians have you killed?
20.
Is this like real life?
I don't know what is Palestinians. I know Hamas. In Gaza there is not civilians.
In Gaza,
all Hamas. Terrorists.
In Gaza, there's no civilians. They're all Hamas. Is that what you just said?
Yeah.
Okay. So the 1 million kids in Gaza, they're Hamas.
Yeah.
What kind?
Oh God, and he's got this lunatic on, of course.
Hello.
Hello, you.
I can't believe how much you guys included laundered this lunatic's reputation here. Oh.
Yeah, Destiny couldn't believe that the videos I showed were real, so he went to look for more on his own. He found one where a soldier explicitly states that all 1 million children in Gaza are terrorists, and therefore are fair game to be killed. Instead of condemning that, his response is to switch to another video and whine about how much he hates Bassem Youssef, since he speaks out against genocide. Steven, you really should have watched my video in advance and planned out what to say, because this is really exposing you quite badly. Countless children in Gaza have been targeted and executed by snipers. There are so many accounts from both local and international doctors who received child after child with a single precise bullet wound to the head. Again, soldiers state outright that they intentionally murder children and that they're specifically ordered to do it, while officials continue to put on a show and act offended when it is suggested that soldiers do the things they openly admit they are doing. This is the definition of gaslighting. And how do Israeli soldiers and officials justify this grotesque behavior? Naturally, they have divine permission for it. They state this openly all the time as well. They are the chosen people, so they can do whatever they want. They say Israel is allowed to ignore the directives of international law in any field it desires. Yes, I explained how Israeli snipers shoot children in the head. No response from him. Then I pivot into the chosen people rhetoric that they use to justify committing genocide. That got a chuckle out of him and nothing more, since this specifically dismantles any attempt at demonizing people for pointing out the chosen people rhetoric that they objectively do use.
What would it take to change your opinion on this? I don't know. It's difficult to engage with questions that are that retarded. For the people that are saying unhinged, insane shit in Israel, these are bad statements. They're horrible. But it's even worse when you just show one side and you pretend like it's only one-sided. You're disqualified from the conversation. You shouldn't even have an opinion on it. You're retarded.
It is one-sided, you dumb piece of shit. Israel and Palestine aren't genociding each other. Israel is committing genocide, and Palestinians are the victims of genocide. One is a belligerent nuclear superpower carpet bombing and starving an entire region. The other is the helpless prisoner population that is the victim of that activity. It is entirely one-sided, and anyone who pretends otherwise is a moron. The worst pro-Israel propaganda attempts to paint all Arabs as terrorists that need to be obliterated, but the far more damaging propaganda is that of the liberal Zionist that attempts to paint the conflict like a pair of quarreling siblings, and if only they could just put down their weapons and get along. That's way more damaging because it whitewashes genocide, and some people fall for it, which prevents a unified opposition to Israel. That's Destiny's bag. They fell for precisely the same dehumanizing rhetoric that led to the Holocaust. If you support Israel, you are a Nazi. There is no meaningful distinction between support for Israel today and support for Nazi Germany in the 1930s and 40s. Given the age we live in, the horror show that—
Really?
Yes, really. Well, I'm going to show you to the best of my extremely limited ability what is happening. This video almost certainly will not be monetized. I'm fully aware of that and I don't care. But I can't show you the true extent of the carnage, as that would violate YouTube's community guidelines, and my channel could get deactivated from a single violation of place, and this boring out of their app haunts me every time the countless bodies dirt bulldozed on top of them. Did you see that? I didn't chop that up. That was Destiny deliberately skipping ahead through the section that I knew would demonetize my video. The part where I showed all the bloody crying children. He can't bear to look at it, and he can't risk his audience seeing it, because this is the easiest way to know who is the villain here. The only way he can continue shilling for Israel is by convincing himself that none of this is real. These children aren't real. So when I show them to him, he gets really uncomfortable. So uncomfortable that he has to make it stop by skipping ahead. This is how we know he's defending an indefensible position, either for money or personal reasons. The complete lack of empathy. There is no chiming in to say, yeah, that's up. Holy shit, look at these poor children with their limbs blown off, starving to death. Hey, let's check out this archive so we can educate ourselves about Israel's atrocities. Nothing, because it can't be real. He can't give more than an inch or two because he is maintaining an indefensible position that genocide isn't happening. And that brings us to the main point of this video. Dickheads like Destiny deny the fact that Israel is committing genocide. This is beyond comprehension. Any honest person with the courage to look can instantly see what has been going on in Gaza for nearly 3 years now.
So courageous to join literally the most popular political movement online in the history of all the world, which is Israel bad, Jew bad, and Palestine innocent and need to be protected, and get rid of AIPAC. What a brave—
Israel bad, and then he adds Jew bad. Nobody said that. Again, the most common cope for anyone and everyone who defends Israel is to immediately add the assertion that this is anti-Semitic. You must be anti-Semitic. Like, you simply could not oppose genocide, settler colonialism, apartheid on its own terms. It must be because this is the Jewish state. It's Jewish people doing it. No, you're adding that. Okay? It's crazy. It's also extra crazy because he's still doing it. Like, he's so, I guess at this point he's in too deep, right? So it's virtually impossible for him to recognize like how repulsive this kind of like pro-Israel sentiment is amongst normies. Because it's not an extremely online thing at all. Everybody opposes Israel's actions. Everybody always opposes Israel's actions, but like now even in the Western world, people oppose Israel's actions. That's the new part, because we only seemingly care about the Western world. Let's be real.
Position that is. Oh my goodness.
I said the courage to look, Stephen, the courage to look at the victims of genocide. And just 30 seconds ago, you demonstrated that you don't have the courage to look. You skipped ahead while I showed you the victims of genocide because you're a spineless little bitch and you know it. So you make no attempt to acknowledge the genocide I reminded you that you're denying, and you immediately reframe advocacy for the victims of genocide as some woke internet trend, which entails hating all Jews, even though no, it doesn't, since a huge fraction of Jews are anti-Zionist activists. How shameful. I'm so glad you've given me this opportunity to show even more people what a worthless piece of shit you are.
And it's not even a question of what are the facts. It's a question of like, the most annoying thing too is it's a question of like, would you consider it a genocide? It's hard to imagine. It's hard to imagine like a genocide where if one side surrenders, like everything stops. Like that's kind of hard to imagine. It's hard to imagine a genocide where the side being genocided like actively is continuing to hold hostages against the other side and refuses to release them for some reason.
Oh, of course. The Palestinians should have surrendered. All the tens of thousands of children who have been slaughtered should have waved a little white flag, and then they wouldn't have been buried under rubble as Israel destroys Gaza to make room for luxury high-rises. If only Palestinians would stop all of the literally zero killing of Israelis after October 7th, while Israel slaughtered dozens or even hundreds per day. And why did they have those hostages? Gee, were they being used to bargain for the release of Palestinian prisoners that are perpetually held by the thousands without cause? Do you have any issue with Israel holding thousands of people prisoner for no reason, including children, while raping and torturing them? Or is it just when Israelis are held hostage and treated like royalty as their own government carpet bombs and kills them since they have no regard for the lives of their citizens? What a moron.
The most difficult question that these people have that I've never heard a good answer to, and there's a lot of them that you can ask, is like, what's the difference between like a bad one-sided war or just like a really violent war and a genocide? Like, I don't know what the difference is. And I've never heard them actually enunciate a difference there. What is the difference between like a bad war, a one-sided war versus like a genocide?
A war would be when two militaries fight and kill each other. So a one-sided war would be one military killing way more soldiers than the other. A genocide would be when a nuclear superpower carpet bombs a prisoner population with the specific intent to murder civilians and demolish all of the infrastructure in the region, and then starves the rest of them while they're huddled trembling in refugee camps. All set, champ?
If the mindset is like all these are intentional and they're just trying to murder as many civilians, not as they can, but as many as they can get away with, even though they're clearly not getting away with it. But I don't know why they won't murder more or whatever. Like it's kind of it's a conversation non-starter. Like, how do you make peace with a group of people that you think is literally trying to genocide the other side? Like, it's stupid. You can't like, and then these same guys who will say, well, 90% of Israel is on board with this, and all of them are brainwashed to want to genocide the other side, and we can't even accept a two-state solution anymore because that's apartheid. So we're going to do a one-state solution. But somehow all of these people are going to live in peace with each other. I don't know.
Oh, you're right. If we force Israel to stop doing genocide and we dissolve the state of Israel, then they're all going to fight and bicker a lot. So we should just let Israel continue to do genocide and take over the entire Middle East. Great thinking, dumbass. I have an idea. How about if America steps up and acts like the shining beacon of democracy it has always pretended to be, forcibly dismantles Israel, and then stations a bunch of troops there to ensure that former Israelis don't continue to murder Palestinians, even though they're not allowed to anymore. Don't worry, Stephen. They'll prevent all the violence in the other direction that was never going to happen as well. Human Rights Watch cited starvation as a weapon of war and the creation of conditions calculated to bring about the physical destruction of the Palestinian population. Doctors Without Borders cited the testimonies of doctors reporting that they routinely received children who have been shot in the head or chest by snipers, as we mentioned. UNICEF reported that essentially all of the million or so children remaining in Gaza need mental health and psychosocial support due to immeasurable trauma, especially the thousands who have lost limbs, usually amputated without anesthetic, and those who have lost their entire families. The International Association of Genocide Scholars stated that the legal definition is cleanly met, citing war crimes and crimes against humanity. Jewish Voice for Peace, Amnesty International, even several Israeli organizations. It's a long list of organizations, and the list of criteria that qualify this as genocide is never ending. 90% of Gazans displaced, absolutely all farmland unusable, continuous blocking of humanitarian aid, starvation and life-threatening malnutrition, mass executions of healthcare and rescue workers. Israel is a club of genocide overachievers. If you deny the fact that Israel is committing genocide, you are no different from a club.
What should you do as a casual viewer to not follow propaganda like this? For the Jew shit, honestly, this was like you had to read all the original sourcing on everything because everybody gets mind when it comes to Israel.
Everybody gets mind when it comes to Israel. When cornered, he always resorts to his little catchphrases. He just watched me cite organization after organization which unanimously label this a genocide and list the reasons why it is objectively genocide. He makes no attempt to engage with any of it and instead pauses to respond to an idiot viewer who asks, "How do I not fall for this list of undeniable facts, I mean propaganda?" To which he spews some bullshit about reading original sources. What original sources? Sources for what? I showed you what human rights organizations say. If you don't like their conclusions, address them, dickbag. This is like when James Tour tries to discredit a paper he doesn't like by whining about how you have to look in the supplemental data so that he can lie.
I like that he has little characters in his anti-science universe that he goes back to for his own audience to understand. Like, I have no idea who I don't know who this guy is.
About what the supplemental data says to pretend he can discard the whole paper. Pathetic. But more importantly,
You know
there
what I mean?
objectively
He's
is
like,
no...
he's cooking them, but also Professor Dave style, you know? He's slapping him around and then also pulling in intra-community memes.
...precision whatsoever to the destruction in Gaza. More than 78% of Gazan infrastructure has been demolished by relentless carpet bombing.
I think that number that he's referring to, I think, was in like the first year of the war. It's like 78% has some damage, not necessarily like completely destroyed or whatever, but I don't know what their number stands at now.
Basic logic would say that it's much higher now then, right, dumbass? Unless you think that Gazans are actually undergoing construction projects while they're being bombed and starved to death. Gaza is an unlivable hellhole. Everyone is living in tents and barely surviving. That's genocide.
What is it about the Israel-Palestine conflict that breaks the minds of people? It's just, it's got enough for everybody to have like a strong opinion about it.
What about this genocide that breaks the minds of people? I don't think it's people's minds that are broken. I think, if we're being honest, it's the pro-genocide side whose minds are completely broken, right? It is so ridiculous to look at this level of death and destruction and to try and justify it in any way, shape, or form, you know?
I see Western world versus non-Western world, Jew versus Arab, brown versus white, imperialism, colonialism, America, foreign involvement. There's just like everything, occupier. There's like every possible thing that you could ever care about can be represented in Israel-Palestine.
No, dipshit. What breaks people's brains is that it's absolutely unthinkable that any human could be as evil as Israeli officials and soldiers. The shit they do to Palestinians genuinely destroys a person's ability to have faith in humanity. It's specifically Holocaust levels of disdain for human life. That's how evil Israel is. Listing a bunch of categories isn't an argument. Yes, this genocide represents belligerent Western imperialism destroying indigenous populations, a thing that shouldn't be happening in the 21st century. Holy your audience is so brainwashed, it's astounding.
You didn't address carpet bombing. Was there actually any? No, but I mean, like, there clearly isn't. Like, you can look at the death numbers. Like, as horrible as it might sound to say, like, if this was indiscriminate bombing, you would have expected to see way more people die.
If they clearly didn't carpet bomb Gaza, then how the is all of Gaza destroyed, you dumb piece of shit? Did they do this themselves? And again, the actual death toll is way higher than the official count because the latter involves only identified bodies. Like I told you, and you skipped right past it, all the bodies that were totally vaporized or are still buried under rubble or were not brought in for identification because an entire bloodline was blown up at the same time, those didn't make it in the official count. That's why the real count is way, way higher.
Israel destroys entire villages in Lebanon during 3-week ceasefire. I think the most annoying thing about all of the the one-sided coverage is that it really does seem like why does Israel attack all of these people? Like, why are they?
Great question. Perhaps bloodlust, ethno-religious supremacist ideology, because they're Nazis, because it's territory that they would like to acquire. Many considerations. Lebensraum, as advocated for in the Jerusalem Post, specifically about southern Lebanon, as a matter of fact.
Attacking Gaza, what's going on there? And
does he have any? Yeah, it is actually alarming how much his cult sincerely believes him to be this brilliant big brain debate guy, because he can out-yap the dumbest MAGA droids on the planet. And it actually is mind-boggling now that we're watching him break down a video. It's shocking how bad it is. It's shocking how bad it is.
We never hear about that. Why is Israel trying to attack Lebanon? I guess just to invade and steal.
What's the counter argument here? That because they deserved it? Are they attacking Lebanon because of Hezbollah? Is that what it is? Oh, it's the Hezis? Yeah, it's because the Hezis launched rockets at Israel from there. That's what it is, right? So interesting that every Shia village, just like every building in Gaza. Also, hey, guess what, dude? That's a foreign country. What do you mean? Oh, they're launching rockets. It's okay, well, here's a very easy way to make sure the Hezbollah doesn't you know, retaliate against Israel in any way, shape, or form. Stop being a belligerent occupier of the Palestinian people and slaughtering them and doing a genocide, and then also doing the same in Lebanon as well, or trying to do the same in Lebanon as well.
Land? Like, we never hear about why.
You just answered your own question, dipshit. This is happening because of Western imperialism. There's nothing one-sided here. Is Lebanon blowing up entire villages in Israel and then keeping that land for themselves? No, Israel is doing that. They're doing it to Gaza, to Lebanon, to Syria, and they'll keep going with Egypt and other regions after that if the world allows it. This is the purpose of Israel. Hell, what a moron. Israel is the aggressor state, slaughtering anyone they please, and anyone who stands in opposition to that is labeled a terrorist. These groups are the rebellion in Star Wars. Israel is the empire. Do you think Emperor Palpatine would label Luke Skywalker a terrorist? Of course he would. Supporting Israel is like rooting for the Death Star.
True.
The analogy is flawless, and all he can do in response is giggle like a toddler because I'm objectively right. Israel is the empire. Right down to their new space laser project he didn't even acknowledge.
תקשיבו לי טוב, יש תוכנית עסקית שנבנתה על ידי אנשים הכי מקצועיים שיש, שנמצאת על השולחן של הנשיא טראמפ. לאיך הדבר הזה הופך לבוננזה של נדל"ן, לא צוחק.
You missed it, he said it.
מחזיר את עצמו. אגב, אני התחלתי משא ומתן עם האמריקאים, ואני אומר את זה לא בצחוק עכשיו, כי אני גם דורש, אנחנו שם המון כסף במלחמה הזאת. אז אנחנו צריכים להתחלק איך אנחנו עושים אחוזים על שיווקי התחדשות.
Real estate mogul cosplaying as the president of the most powerful nation on earth. Yep, that was Destiny skipping ahead in the video yet again because he couldn't deal with what I was showing him. Bezalel Smotrich was outright admitting that the entire genocide was just pretense for land acquisition and real estate development, right out of his own mouth. Can't let your viewers see that, right, Stevie? Skip, skip, skip.
At Destiny, Hamas offered that multiple times. Israel said they weren't going to stop bombing them. It wouldn't matter. Then why keep them? Why not just release the hostages? You would 100x your international and even the domestic support. It would be so hard to justify anything. Like, why would you always give them that thing to fall back on? The reason why, like, and again, nobody that makes videos like this will ever acknowledge, is because Hamas invites the civilian death. They want as many civilians to die as possible. They want as many civilians to die as possible. It is the goal, so that people like, you know, Professor Dave can jerk off of these dog shit TikTok slot videos they make on it.
Sorry, TikTok what? There are no TikTok videos in here, and it wouldn't matter where they came from anyway. You just can't handle what the clips are showing, so you skip ahead like a little bitch. And why did they have hostages? Again, as bargaining chips for the release of Palestinian prisoners. They got some back, just as intended. And as I pointed out, but you didn't touch, all the hostages that Israel didn't blow up were returned a while ago, and Hamas even relinquished control of Gaza. Yet Israel continues to bomb Gaza. Doesn't fit your narrative, now does it?
קצת לפני שהכל מתחיל. ואיתמר דופק דין, לא קצת פקודה. באמת, אני הייתי כמה שיותר בכירים, מה די פגעו? ששיעור סך הכל תפנה בית רובר.
Beyond this, hundreds of the civilians.
מרגיש לי אני לא יודע מה שם, אני רוצה להבין.
A little coincidental, no? Yes, this is him fast-forwarding through the clip where the IOF soldier explains how he was told to cancel a patrol of the border wall region where Hamas would break through, right before the time that it happened. This is enormous evidence supporting Israel knowing what was going to happen and allowing it to happen. He knows this, so he has to get past it as quickly as possible.
They'll say that it was the Hannibal doctrine, that Israel will kill every single fleeing Hamas person, even if they have an Israeli with them, because they always try to kill their own people so they don't get taken hostage or something. Of which there's zero evidence of this happening, or I think it ever happening, but...
A little coincidental, no? Beyond this, hundreds of the civilian casualties were the fault of Israel due to both friendly fire from incompetent teenage pseudo-soldiers, as well as the Hannibal directive, which involves killing their own citizens on purpose to prevent their captivity, including a tank firing on a kibbutz. Right, no evidence of the Hannibal directive being used. I then show the Israeli defense minister confirming that it was used, and Stevie doesn't engage with it at all, or retract his bogus statement. That's intellectual integrity for you.
Destiny, you're not even defending against any of his claims. You kind of just pause the video and then say, it's so easy to paint one side, and then just move on without addressing anything. None of these claims are like strongly factual claims that can even be, for some of these I have, but other, like if you're gonna find me videos of people saying unhinged things, there are videos of people saying unhinged things. Yeah, of course, there are crazy Israelis and Jewish people.
No, my video is not just a compilation of Israelis saying crazy unhinged things. That was just to demonstrate genocidal intent. Then there is the whole section where I clearly demonstrate that Israel is committing genocide. And then I cite a long list of organizations who label it a genocide and explain why they say it's a genocide. You didn't engage with literally any of that. That's why this person is making fun of you.
No, I'm saying debunk his claim when he's citing a copious amount of sources and organizations deeming this a genocide. Arguing over whether or not a thing is a genocide is a perspective on the ongoing war that if you want to get into fact deliberation, we can deliberate facts, but I don't have a perspective on whether or not it's a genocide, or I'm not as interested in hotly contesting that topic. And I think that if you are, I think it signals that there's something with your brain.
It's not a war, it's genocide. That's the point. And no, you are not interested in deliberating facts. That's why you keep sidestepping all of mine. You're just pretending that you aren't interested in the label of genocide because that's the specific label you're trying to manufacture reasonable doubt about. Everyone can see it by now, and that's why you're getting increasingly agitated.
In 2025, an investigation published by DropSite found that MENA complied with 94% of takedown requests issued by Israel since October 7. That same year.
Like, it is really crazy, too, that Professor Dave does, like, these super high-quality, like, science debunking videos of flat earthers and shit. And that comment in YouTube chat was true. He's using as his sourcing the same type of slop shit that conspiracy theorists that he argues against would use. Like,
what? Like The Intercept? The Intercept is slop shit? What the? Slop is Slop is independent media comprised of like seasoned investigative reporters that I just don't like. How is this any different than like an ultra Zionist saying like New York Times is Hamas? I only watch Fox News now. They seem to be the only guys that are doing right by Israel.
Here is a TikTok video that has the spooky music and everything in the background playing while it gives you the opinion that you're supposed to have. It's like, Jesus.
Again, there are no TikTok videos here. Other platforms utilize vertical video now, and it does.
Like, oh, wow, drop site news. Oh, more like drop Hamas news. Got him.
Doesn't matter where a video is posted. I use what I can find, which is difficult since Israel's PR machine is constantly scrubbing the internet of evidence of its genocide. This is just a pathetic excuse to not engage with the statements of human rights organizations, let alone the content of these videos he's brushing aside. Want me to prove that he's being disingenuous here?
Oh my God. These are some of my most trying times. When I'm
oh my God, a golden Kappa train, level 2, ladies and gentlemen. Golden Kappa train, give some subs.
Somebody over like what's a good source or not. Again, this is like a level 0 conversation. When I'm talking to somebody and I'm like, okay, well,
you carry the flame again. This time not with a Canadian carrying of the flame, but a different one.
Okay, so you don't believe this time? Okay, well, let's go through
At
this.
level 10.
I'll throw them an article and they'll be like,
support Piker Broadcasting Service, People's Broadcasting Service, support independent media, ladies and gentlemen. The only way to support independent media, this independent media outlet, is by subscribing for $6 or for free with a Twitch Prime. And yes, I will bring back the reggae carrying of the flame.
Really? CNN, Fox News? Like, no, you moron. They're quoting somebody from the government. I'm just giving you the articles. You can see the quote. Now, unless you think the article's misquoting the person or publishing a wrong quote, the source is not CNN. The source is the prime minister. The source is the president. The source is this. Like, we can find 20 different articles that source the same quote, or we can find a statement from the government itself. But people will look at something like, oh, your source is Twitter. No, Twitter doesn't publish news. What do you mean? Or your source is like, it's like, no. Oh yeah, people's lack of media literacy and just even understanding what a source is or what they're reading is incredibly frustrating.
Oh, so you're saying Twitter isn't a source. So neither is TikTok, which I didn't use, or YouTube Shorts, or whatever else you're whining about? That's right. You have to deal with the sources being referenced in the videos. So the investigation this video is referencing is what we should be looking at, right, Steven? So this pageantry you're enacting when you claimed earlier that social media is overrun with pro-Palestine propaganda, when in fact all these social media platforms are regularly deleting pro-Palestine content and accounts, is really just you being a douchebag. Got it.
Pangburn, who's a mutual contact of ours, says he reached out and Professor Dave said no. I sent him a message on Instagram. He hasn't responded. Like, obviously, I debate anybody on, especially Israel-Palestine. It should also tell you something that this guy is like one of the most avid debaters on the planet, as much as me, if not more, when it comes to the flat earth shit. But he won't talk to me on this subject. So
yeah, that's a cool story, but it's just that. Story. I've done 2 in-person debates, one on abiogenesis and one on vaccines, and 4 online ones, 2 on flat earth, 2 on creationism. In all my years as a science communicator, 6 debates. That's all. You just want to turn me into the master debater so that you can whine about me refusing to debate you. I have no interest in directly interacting with a gish-galloping, genocide-denying cretin, especially on a Pangburn stage, given what a creep he turned out to be. Israel has a history of this behavior. In 1967...
the USS Liberty, the favorite, the go-to.
Yes, it's an example of Israel deliberately attacking America to achieve a...
Yeah, you can't bring that up. Why not? It's yet another very obvious instance where Israel, regardless of its strategic importance as a satellite for American imperialism in a resource-rich region, absolutely was able to directly cause harm to American service members. And then the American government reacted not in the appropriate ways that they normally would if an ally did such a similar thing, but instead to cover it up. Shout out your gifted subs, Unc. That's how you get a lot of subs. DeLuise! Thank you for the 10 gifted subs. You're right. You're right. I'm shouting them out again. Dirk Bonker, thank you for the 5 gifted. Chatters are so funny. Dude, the backseat broadcast producing is out of control. Come on, Unc. Shout them out. This is how you get more.
Political objective. Giggling like a toddler is not a rebuttal.
Honestly, I'm pro-genocide. Like, it sounds really shitty, but like, I think that Israel should just drop its fucking borders about where it is now, and basically Palestinians can go live in another place. That's really shitty, but like, that's about where I'm at.
You just think the Palestinians should just pack up and Native American the fuck out of there?
First of all, I like that this quote was before October 7th, so I had no clue even that much about Israel, and I had no. Obviously, there wasn't the terror second on all the attention on these on anything related to Palestine, number one. But number two, this is essentially their position just reversed, where they're like, well, both sides are probably going to genocide each other anyway, so it should just be like an Arab state, and maybe they have to kill all the Jews out for it to succeed. Like, it is the opposite position.
My bad, you guys. I didn't know anything about Israel when I said that, but supporting the ethnic cleansing and genocide of Palestinians is totally defensible, you guys, because it's just the opposite of what you stupid pro-pallies want. No, you tool, you're just a genocide-supporting piece of shit who projects your lack of moral compass onto others. Nobody who is protesting genocide advocates for a reverse genocide. Jews and Christians were living alongside Arab Muslims in Palestine prior to the Nakba. Jews could have migrated to the region after the Holocaust and done the same, as equal citizens. You can make the argument that racial tensions might have arisen, but do you know what sure as made it a whole lot worse? Zionist militias murdering thousands of people and stealing entire villages and displacing nearly 1 million Palestinians, followed by decades of never-ending apartheid and occupation, followed by nearly 3 years of full-fledged, unambiguous genocide. So take your whataboutism and shove it up your gaping asshole.
Yeah, maybe don't say things like that, to be fair. No, I will say things like that, and I'll stand by it, because the people on your side literally watch terrorist videos and they cheer them on. So suck a dick. It is such the tone policing by you loser that also don't care about this conflict and don't know anything about it. You're like, maybe you shouldn't actually say you're pro-genocide. Well, stay here with your
wow. Really cool defense.
Kafayas.
Holy crash out is right.
Backwards, and you're in the most
what
retarded
the fuck, Zelensky? Wait, oh, is this the Benjamin Netanyahu? I am grateful to the president of the state of Israel, Isaac Herzog, for his warm congratulations on Ukraine's 35th Independence Day and his sincere words for our people. Our countries prepare to mark 35 years of diplomatic relations later this year. I fully share the confidence that our bilateral cooperation, trade partnerships, and strong people-to-people bonds will continue to strengthen. I join President Herzog in praying for a lasting peace, and together with my wife Olena, send warm personal best wishes to President Herzog. Mr. President, I'm going to need some Patriot missiles. Tell me again how the U.S. is defending the rule base. Yeah. Warm congratulations from the Prime Minister Netanyahu. It's like, bro, you probably shouldn't post this. None of it matters, obviously, but it's like, it is kind of funny when you're like, I am being illegally occupied by Russia. Fair, true. And then also simultaneously 3 years into a genocide, I'm like, I love Israel. Okay, they're the Russia in that situation. Like, you probably don't. I mean, of course he's going to do that. Of course. Why is he Mexican? Have you heard Zelensky? Yeah, no, that's just how he sounds. But it's just so wild to me. Oh, level 9, Golden Kappa train, almost at level 10. It's so funny. Like, there are so many of these, like, Ukraine flag in the bio, Palestine flag in the bio liberals out there. Those are always the liberals who will be like, you know, I love the pro-Palestine movement, but this Hasan guy, he's a real terrorist piece of shit doing Islamic jihad. We should probably kill that guy. You know, how dare he say that Palestinians have a legal right to resist? Only Ukrainians have that right, you know, that kind of thing. So what do they do when they see stuff like this? I always wonder what happens to, like, the Palestinian flag in the bio, Ukrainian flag in the bio guys who are always like, I hate Hamas and I hate the Palestinian resistance. But also I have the Palestinian flag in the bio. Do they just ignore it? Like, how does that work? I guess for them, it's like the cope is, you know, well, what is he supposed to do? They'll drop the PA flag? No. They don't. They are sincerely pro-Palestine, or think they are. The flag gets deleted for 3 weeks. Which, the Ukraine one or the Palestine one? Really trigger all the libs and start talking about how pro-Israel Taiwan is? Listen, I don't want to put that on the people living in Taiwan, okay? The government is, again, another satellite for American ambition. What do you mean? You can see what happens? The person in the comments say, this is where you lose me, and that's the best thing that happens? Yeah, but great PR for Ukraine supporting a genocider. Oh, disappointing. You can't be at war with Russia and support Israel. Okay. This person doesn't even have the Palestine flag in the bio. Okay, respect. You're fighting to keep Ukraine sovereign while Israel commits war crimes against other sovereign states. Shaking my head. Okay. Okay. Maybe it's like a... Why are so many people reading into this? What is this? AOC apparently forgot to renew her DSA dues in 2019, which means she technically hasn't been a DSA member for the past 7 years. Neither she nor DSA realized it until this month, and she's now rejoined the org and is paying monthly dues that auto-renew. Yeah, I don't know, because everything AOC does is immediately huge in the news, and that's all this is. Back pay AOC. Okay, to be fair, she's broke, dude. Have you seen? She's got like $100,000 in student loan debt still. Everybody, calm down. Okay, Reggae Charlie Kirk carry the flame. Does anyone have the link for the Reggae Charlie Kirk? We hit level 10 hype train. She's denying the AOCIA allegations. What is this? In the 50s, the running joke in communist circle was that everyone knew who the FBI agents were. They were the ones who always paid their membership dues on time. Poop Mage, it's Mitch. Come over. What is this? I wouldn't say or ask someone to say, or are you aware the calendar said Al-Aqsa Flood 710 in Arabic, same handwriting on the top, is titled very clearly. It's just the weekdays, considering that it would give away different context than it was written before 710. Not that it changes anything, obviously, but I just don't understand if people were lying or unaware. Okay. They said this was like the names of hostages, chatter. What are you talking about? They literally pointed to the calendar and said this terrorist calendar, or is not a calendar at all. They said these were names of hostages. That this was a list of the hostages that they were holding. Why disrespect the dead? You clearly have no integrity if you do this to troll, which you clearly are childish. Excuse me. Once again, I am the only, and I mean the only that carries the flame and respects the name around these parts. Okay? What do you want? You want more fireworks? That's how Erica Kirk carried the flame. Okay? What do you want? You want me to go down a rabbit hole of conspiracy theories? Is that what you want me to do? This has nothing to do with Charlie Kirk, more so than the attempts to lionize and martyrize Charlie Kirk, because that song, well, not the reggae iteration of it, but the original song was created to honor him. You can't get mad at me if that's the way that they wanted to cheer him on, and now I'm cheering him on. Yeah, names of the terrorists, actually. The guy said it was them clocking in for their shifts. Yeah, that other chatter is like straight up trying to do a gotcha.
Ever make about like, oh, Hezbollah is just like the government of Lebanon and blah, blah, blah. Suck a dick. Don't sit here and virtue signal now, okay, when you're cheering for dead Palestinian babies because you can jerk off to them and send them to your friends online. Get the fuck out of here, retards.
Sorry, what terrorist videos are we watching and cheering on? I don't cheer when Israeli terrorists murder tens of thousands of children. I oppose terrorism. You're a little confused. I mean, you can't even pronounce kafia while you brag about how worldly and knowledgeable you are, denouncing what you call terrorist organizations for resisting terrorism from the military superpower that is actively trying to wipe them off the face of the earth.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to forever carry the flame. I will forever respect and put some appropriate respect on the name and carry the flame. You know what I mean? Oh, shit. Curtis Levon, Adam Friedland. Nice.
Also, we all know that you do a lot of weird shit.
Notice how clip pages don't post these on Hinge Rants as his crash outs? Yes, because he's a Kick streamer, and those clip pages operate for Kick and Kick streamers. That's literally what it is. Why do you think Asmongold's insane rants? Sometimes Kick pages think that Asmongold's insane rants are what do you call it? Sometimes Asmongold's insane rants Kick pages will post because they think it'll go viral, and it does go viral. And then when people actually watch the videos, they're like, "Oh my god, he's saying insane shit."
In terms of non-consensually sharing pornographic material, even in
you're full of shit. You trash Charlie Kirk the day he died. No, I disagree with Charlie Kirk. Okay, what am I supposed to act like he was his political output was valid, was good? Well, like, what are you doing? What are you talking about? What, I'm not supposed to? I can't disagree with someone I vehemently disagree with professionally even? Get the out of here.
Involving underage individuals, so accusing other people of jerking off to images of dead Palestinian babies and sending it to their friends kinda sounds like the biggest projection of all time.
I don't care, bro. Call me biased. I don't know if I'm stupid, but even though I agree with you on almost everything here, the whole Israel trip felt like a weird whitewashing of Israel. Even though you argued with the crazy people there, it had a very weird vibe to it. That's because Israel is nowhere near as up and crazy and bad as you've been told it is constantly over here. They definitely do bad things, and they're not beyond reproach. But, like, given the opportunity to go back in time when I said, well, both sides are going to genocide each other, but, you know, I guess I'd probably refer the Israeli side to the Palestinian side. 100-0, obviously. Like, the Israeli side of this conflict is a trillion times more compatible with Western values, Western democracy, culture values, whatever the else you want to say, than the Hamas side of it. And you're just, if you have to even stop and think about that for a microsecond, you've lost the plot so much that you're just brain on the entire Middle East.
Brain broke in. He resorts to his pathetic catchphrase every time he knows he's saying something totally indefensible. Hey shithead, Israel being compatible with Western values of belligerent imperialism, apartheid, and genocide is exactly why it's such a disgusting country. America has been the global leader in terrorism since World War II, and Israel is a big part of that. That's exactly the problem. America bombs wherever and murders whoever it wants. That's what Israel does too, which is bad. This is exactly why I would never debate some jerk off like Destiny, because what I just said is so obvious that it's not worth debating, but he would try anyway by running his motor mouth about British mandate this, Ottoman Empire that, flexing irrelevant book report knowledge to try and obfuscate from the very clear and very obvious fact that Israel is nothing but a Western outpost for destabilization and resource extraction in the Middle East, not some kind of glimmering bastion of democracy in a sea of dirty Arab jihadis that want to rape your daughters. This clip is the essence of Destiny's Hasbara. He is trying to convince American liberals that Israel, yes, of course, despite some uh-ohs and whoopsies, is ultimately in the right and deserves all the territory it is illegally seizing, despite the tragedies that aren't genocide because he says so. Pathetic.
This guy was mega sus. I would have to go back and read why. I don't remember. This is a long time ago. But this guy was... Every single Palestinian is like a poet or journalist or medical professional. You notice this. It's like 13-year-old killed. He was actually a member of the press, and he was a doctor in training, and he was a journalist and a poet and a singer-songwriter. And it's like, okay.
No, a random 13-year-old is never a poet and journalist and medical professional. Poets are poets. Journalists are journalists. Doctors are doctors. All of whom are deliberately targeted by Israel because those who humanize Palestinians with art must die, and those who broadcast Israel's atrocities must die, and those who heal the Amalek must die. But no, Rafah al-Arir was not sus. He was a poet who wrote moving poetry, like If I Must Die, for which he indeed must have died. Because that's all Gazans can do. They have no ability to defend themselves, so they write poetry and try to retain solidarity as a community in the fear of near certain extermination. He was targeted and murdered by Israel as part of their campaign to erase Palestinian culture, another aspect of this obvious genocide, and Destiny's defense of his own disgusting slander at that time is to call him sus and then move on. Unreal.
People have been telling us that the Palestinians are starving to death for decades. People have been telling us since October 7th that no aid is going to the country, that it's been kept at a caloric deficit, and now here we are months and months and months in, where all the old diagnostics. And now we're years and years and years in. Something is not adding up here. The math doesn't work. Something is not right about the story that's being told.
Yes, Destiny is denying the objective fact that hundreds of Palestinians have died of malnutrition and starvation.
That's hundreds? I've never seen that number. You have to go deep into the Al Jazeera archives to find that number. Hundreds? Even hundreds I haven't. But remember, the United Nations, they released a report saying that more Palestinians were at...
Dude, come on, man. Like, I know you're shameless, but Jesus Christ, dude. Actually, those babies deserved it, or those babies had a genetic disability. You know, Israel was only starving children with genetic disabilities is not exactly a great argument, you know? It's so nasty. You're a nasty little freak. What Michael Savage is saying here is comment on the hard right, which will be open and honest about our past brutality in order to justify present-day brutality. You can also see this in this 1942 letter to the editor that appeared in a Seattle newspaper. Michael Savage is 100% right about this, and it's a large part of why America and Israel get along so well and why there are many-me. The hard right is often willing to blurt out various true things that liberals loathe to say or don't want to believe. Zionism is no different than Manifest Destiny and other such nationalistic rallying cries that created the form of nation. Wait, what? Is he being based? What the The anti-Zionists are, in fact, trying to delegitimize Israel the same way leftists try to delegitimize America, end Columbus Day, etc. Never underestimate the intelligence of Oh no, he's saying it's good. He's like, yeah, we did a genocide of the indigenous population and then it was beast mode. That's what he's saying.
It's like IPC level 5.
Welcome to the savage nation, dude.
Of malnourishment and famine or whatever, that there were more Palestinians classified under starvation than all the other people starving in the world combined. I'm not misspeaking. All the other people in the world combined, there were not as many starving people as there were Palestinians. And somehow, day after day, week after week, month after month, somehow they all seem to have clothes on. None of them seem like emaciated. Like sometimes you'll get videos of kids that have like cystic fibrosis or some horrible ailment or whatever. But
deep into the Al Jazeera archives, as though that's not a reputable source somehow. And sorry, the source is World Health Organization. Hundreds of deaths attributed to malnutrition and dehydration. The report states that 500,000 Gazans face starvation, destitution, and death. Is WHO a bunch of dirty Hamas terrorists, Stephen?
World Hamas Organization? Duh. Come on, Professor Dave. The H is right there, bro. What do you mean? Yeah, World Hamas Organization. What do you think the H is for? Health? Pfft. Woke and gay nonsense.
Day after day, week after week, month after month, what? People starve to death? Yeah, because Israel deliberately prevents aid trucks from entering in order to starve people. And by the way, when they finally let in a little bit of aid to prevent a massive wave of starvation deaths that would yield a mountain of bad press by keeping people just barely clinging on to life, that doesn't mean it isn't a war crime. Widespread malnutrition and the medical conditions that it produces are not excusable just because they aren't all dead already. And to top it off, this worthless stack of filth is regurgitating the disgusting propaganda from Bari Weiss and the Free Press that children in Gaza who are clearly dying of starvation actually aren't starving, but suffer from other health issues like cystic fibrosis or cerebral palsy, which just make it look like they're starving, instead of them both having those conditions and starving to death. He is proudly regurgitating this highly publicly debunked Hasbara talking point like the worthless Hasbara operative that he is. Unbelievable.
It's just like, it's the weirdest starvation of all time, where the population has been continuing to grow. You're not having people dying of malnourishment. You have like an obesity rate that's higher than like every other Arab country on the planet. You have like, not to say that it's good, not to say that it's acceptable, but like when you lie about every single thing that you talk about for this region, it just makes, I don't know how to even engage.
You are the one lying about every single thing, you lying piece of shit. The population continues to grow. Are you out of your mind? They're being slaughtered daily. People are indeed dying of malnourishment. Obesity? Find me a picture of one fat Gazan right now. I dare you. This performative outrage while you project your dishonesty is what you will be remembered for, Stephen. Oh, and the weird sex stuff. People think Jews control the West and all the governments and the media and the blah, blah, blah. How silly and conspiratorial. Well, it's not Jews wholesale. It's Israel. It's Zionists, both Jewish and non-Jewish. They do have an outrageous level of control, most obviously in the media. This is me debunking his bullshit claim that by being anti-Zionist, I actually hate all Jews, which was kind of the main point of his hit piece. And his response to me debunking it is, oh shit. The end. What a titan of intellect. Then there are all the mergers. Did you hear about the latest one? Paramount, Warner Brothers, CBS, CNN, and HBO are all under one entity. Owned by, can you guess who? Larry Ellison, the Zionist scumbag who bought TikTok, and for the exact same reason. When Zionist oligarchs have this level of command over the media landscape, while also having their hands in military AI and all kinds of other imperialistic shit, it means being able to execute whatever heinous acts they want, and then completely controlling the narrative surrounding it after the fact. To say that the vast majority of mainstream media outlets are controlled by Zionists is not a conspiracy theory. It's a statement of fact. You don't have to stop at CEOs either. Look at who is selected to disseminate the narratives. Stevie, you previously whined about how I promote conspiracy theories regarding Jews controlling the media. I just explained how Zionists quite obviously control an enormous proportion of the media, and you said literally nothing. Can we assume that you're learning something from me here? Editor-in-chief of CBS News is now Bari Weiss, whose right-wing propaganda outlet, the Free Press, was one of the biggest mouthpieces for Israel in the past 20 years. And what did she immediately do when she got there? She gutted the outlet and ousted anyone with an ounce of journalistic integrity, including 60 Minutes correspondent and 37-year veteran Scott Pelley, who publicly proclaimed that Bari was hired to kill the place. With the ship now sailing.
Yeah, what is the argument to that? Like, because that execution of the merger was directly done to make this media outlet more pro-Israel. Same with TikTok. And it wasn't like a secret. It was to make these outlets and make these platforms more pro-Israel than they already were, and also more pro-MAGA. And I find it so strange. Like, it's not like a secret. The Redstones sold it for that reason. They watched 160 Minutes coverage about American culpability in Gaza and the war crimes in Gaza, and they were like, we have to sell this shit. We have to sell this shit to someone who will retool it and will make it more pro-Israel. Like, at what point does it become conspiratorial to deny the active conspiracy, not the conspiracy theory, but the active collaboration taking place? Like, Mitt Romney famously went on one of these panels and was like, yeah, we're selling TikTok. We're forcibly selling TikTok away from Chinese hands because there's far too many anti-Israel TikToks out there. And it's like making the youth anti-Israel, and we can't deal with it. So many people openly admitted that what pushed them over the edge, what allowed this TikTok sale, that allowed this TikTok legislation to go through, was the Israel thing.
where Bari wanted to go, guess who shows up on CBS News?
They're coming from the Pentagon, NASA, the CIA, the FBI, and the Energy Department. So let's bring in Avi Loeb, who now leads the White House UAP Council. Avi, what can you tell us? What's in these files? What are we looking at here?
Well, first, thank you for having me.
Avi Loeb, the exact fraud I debunked that made Destiny cry about how I use the word Zionist excessively. Zionists take over CBS, hire a massive Zionist stooge to run the news, and they immediately host the Zionist fraud who spews bullshit about the UAP psyop coming from the government that is also held hostage by Zionists. Funny how that works, huh?
This is like a speech from American History X.
Again, I demonstrated the very clear coordination of Zionists taking over media outlets to then employ and platform Zionist frauds, and his response is to shout, "Whoa!" and then say this is like a scene from American History X. Who the f*** still listens to this guy?
Only Mamdani had the balls to say that he would stay in the city he is the mayor of like a normal person. When Israeli influence has infected American politics so thoroughly that it shows up in bizarre ways like this, you know the system is completely broken.
How about when weird pro-Pally shit infects the media so much, the mayor of New York City is talking about how he's going to arrest the prime minister of Israel. I'm going to act an ICC warrant. Come on, bro. Oh my God.
Yeah, why are you bringing up silly shit like an ICC arrest warrant? Like, that's so silly. My unsolicited advice, don't give these cynical assholes an inch. Don't accept their anti-Semitism shrieking as good faith. Don't play into their sectarian sandbox. This is about empire and its client states and the chauvinist, deluded, racist, and violent project of Zionism. Oh, this is the Adam Johnson responding to the Mark Ruffalo anti-Semitism allegation.
How is it propaganda to hold war criminals accountable for their war crimes, dickhead? Arrest warrants from the ICC are propaganda now? Is the ICC Hamas? Go ahead and explain this propaganda to me with your big brain, Steven.
That's right, folks. I'm a neo-Nazi for pointing out Zionist tactics of deception and victimization. All the deception Israel engages in to gaslight the world into supporting genocide, that's not real because Stevie says so. The victim complex they espouse, perpetually claiming to be the victims of terrorism while they commit heinous acts of terrorism, that's also not real because Stevie says so. In reality, there are no neo-Nazi tactics afoot here. Instead, there is only the Zionist tactic of irrevocably tethering Zionism to Judaism so that they can shout anti-Semite at anyone who points at their disgusting behavior.
I mean, how could you separate the two? You have a diaspora of people. Well, not anymore now because they have Israel. But prior to that, yeah, it was a huge people without a country that they felt like, so they didn't have their self-determination. Yeah, what do you mean? How could you separate the two?
How can you separate the two? How can you separate Judaism from the disgusting Zionist ideology, which is based on ethnically cleansing a region of its indigenous people to produce an ethno-state? Gee, maybe by pointing out tens of thousands of Jews who don't support genocidal ethno-states? Holy f***, what a moron.
Just 30%, 7% of Jewish Americans identify as Zionists. How is that phrased? What? Identify as in like would call themselves that, or think or believe that like Jews should have a state.
By the way, this is also part of the reason why people get really butt mad. Specifically, like Michael Lasher, for example, when he was lashing out at your boy, he straight up openly revealed where his resentment comes from, where he said, "Oh, you made the Z word, Zionism, a slur, and that's why you've deluded young American Jews into thinking that they should be ashamed." Like as though young American Jews have no agency. They could not have seen, like, I'm responsible for every single anti-Zionist Jew in the country. Like they didn't just see this violence on their own and decide, hey, this is actually unbelievable, unbearable. I can't believe this violence is supposedly being committed in my name. You know, it's crazy. But yes, there are a lot of people who sincerely think that myself, TikTok, and basically everybody else is like duped a lot of young American Jews away from being unconditionally pro-Israel. Okay. Meanwhile, the only time where anti-Zionist Jews are ever mentioned is if Zionists are criticizing them. In every other aspect, there is never even a moment of reflection with the number of Jews who identify as non-Zionists or anti-Zionists or don't identify as Zionists, like how much that has dropped. It's already an intentionally vague definition to begin with. For some, it just means like you have any feelings, positive feelings, maybe even negative feelings. You have any feelings towards the state of Israel, then, oh, you're a Zionist. Like, ridiculous.
Oh my God. The AI answer, I can click this, is this was a survey published in early of 2026 by the Jewish Federation of North America. It revealed, okay, so this is the survey label breakdown. 37% identified as Zionist, 8% identified as non-Zionist, 7% identified as anti-Zionist, and 48% chose none of those labels. So But okay, good one, Chief.
Good one, Chief. I just dismantled his entire position, which is based on anti-Zionism being anti-Semitism because almost all Jews are Zionists. He did a desperate fact check, saw that the vast majority of American Jews are not Zionists, and his response is, good one, Chief, while ignoring the imagery of fiercely anti-Zionist Jews protesting Israel's genocide. Talk about intellectually bankrupt.
There are even anti-Zionist, ultra-Orthodox Jews in Israel. Want to see what happens to them?
Holy shit, the video clip that starts 2 seconds before the fighting? Yes!
Sorry, what are you implying happened before this? Did the timid Orthodox Jews do something to provoke the police? You're watching Israeli police beat up Orthodox Jews in Israel, and this is the best you can come up with to excuse it?
I'm going to say that one more time so that it sinks in. Zionism is anti-Semitism.
Okay.
Zionism is a disgusting political ideology that has hijacked Judaism and Jewish history to justify imperialism, apartheid, and genocide. And Zionism is responsible for the lion's share of actual anti-Semitism that exists around the world as people react to Israeli aggression and misplace their anger on Jews as a whole. All moral Jews know this and speak out against Zionism the loudest, as it is
all moral Jews know this.
Their cultural identity that is being shattered by these monsters. Zionism is to Jew and Zionism the loudest, as it is their cultural identity that is being shattered by these monsters. Zionism is to Jewish supremacy, as Nazism is to white supremacy.
As Hitler tries to conquer the entirety of Europe, and I guess they think that Israel wants to conquer, I don't know how much of the Middle East. They
What? Nope. Yep. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. You might have accidentally arrived at the truth while trying to belittle a valid comparison being made. It's funny because he catches himself.
Look, conquer the
Zionism is to Jewish supremacy, as Nazism is to white supremacy.
As Hitler tries to conquer the entirety of Europe, and I guess they think that Israel wants to conquer, I don't know how much of the Middle East. They always say the greater.
No. Really? He almost said it out loud, realizes it was coming out of his mouth that, oh shit, that is actually the Greater Israel Project, and was like, I guess he's just trying to conquer some of the Middle East.
Israel thing, who knows?
He's got to be regretting taking on this video totally blind by now. I say an obviously correct thing, and he just sarcastically shouts, oh, on top of it, as though that's a rebuttal. Then he starts talking about Nazi Germany trying to take over Europe, remembers how that's directly analogous to Israel trying to take over the entire Middle East, which is why the comparison works so well, and then scuttles along. Astounding.
Can you be anti-Zionist without being anti-Semitic? Maybe, but if you really wanted to dive into it, there's like I think it's actually a pretty deep argument, but most people aren't even close to being able to have that discussion.
Hey, jackass, why don't you try having that discussion with any of the thousands of anti-Zionist Jews who fiercely oppose Israel's genocide and co-opting of their faith?
Sure, gladly. Here's the deeper discussion if you want to run that down. You can say, is anti-Zionism the same as anti-Semitism? On the surface, you would say, no, you should be allowed to be critical of the Israeli government while still simultaneously not being anti-Semitic. Okay, sure, but that's not...
I love when people always say this, by the way. First of all, I don't think you get to debate the parameters of people's criticisms of a country that's committing a genocide. Okay? But I do personally love when people say, oh, well, you can criticize Israel. That's fine. But, and it's like, is it fine? Because you guys demand everyone who criticizes Israel to be fired or lose their revenue or be tarred and feathered on the timeline or ritualistically humiliated. You lie about everybody. I tweeted about this already. Hold on. Someone was like, yeah, Ted and other Israel defenders always love to say, no one's saying criticism of Israel is off limits. They will demand you lose your job if you do criticize Israel. Every single time. Listen, it's fine. It's like nobody thinks that you can criticize Israel as off limits. It's like, yeah, only in very narrow confines will I allow you to criticize Israel without demanding that you get deplatformed, demanding that you lose your job at Jiffy Lube, okay? Doxxed and harassed endlessly by Israeli Knesset-funded American doxing operations like the Canary Mission. These are all real things that happen all the time. And then people sit around and wonder why there's so much resentment towards Israel. I've said this before. If Israel did not intervene in the domestic affairs of Americans, I promise you, and this is a sad reality that I am recognizing, most Americans wouldn't give a shit about how many Palestinians Israel has killed. I obviously care about that, and everyone in this community obviously cares about, but the reason why the average American unironically hates Israel is because of the sheer arrogance of the Hasbara operation. Okay? That's it. Americans normally don't really care about what goes on over there. They have been conditioned. They've been trained into thinking that that is all collateralized. All of the death and destruction, they probably deserved it. Or if they didn't deserve it, if it's just like little children, then, what are you going to do? That sucks, but that's just war. That is what the average American is trained into thinking. A big part of the reason why this has become a much larger issue is because Americans also like saying that they don't like war, right? They don't like war at all. Do they actually take action against war? Not necessarily, but they love saying it. And in this circumstance, when Americans came out and said, I don't like war, anyone and everyone that said that got canceled, got deplatformed, got canceled. Their firings were demanded. They got doxxed. So, of course, they were like, well, what the is this shit? And then they see their politicians who refuse to take care or consideration into their needs, into their demands, turn around and parrot Israel talking points, and they see prominent media figures basically contort themselves into pretzels to defend the indefensible, and they go, this is strange. Why is this happening? And then there's already enough anti-Semitic conspiracy theories that a lot of people already believe in, and there you have it. This is how anti-Semitism explodes. Okay?
Generally what anti-Zionism means, and if you say you're critical of the Israeli government, how? If you're critical of the Israeli government in a way that you think that the Jewish majority of the state necessarily needs to not be a protected thing anymore, and you think you should necessarily allow the infinite right of return for Palestinian diaspora or whatever, and you think that necessarily it will follow from there, it absolutely will, that Jews will be a minority in the country, and then you're also okay with saying, well, if they're a minority, they experience violence, I think maybe they should flee because they've, mistreated the Palestinians for so long, and that's okay, then essentially what you're saying is, I am anti-Zionist, and I'm willing to accept the ethnic cleansing of every Jew from Israel if that's what happens at the end of it.
I like that he just made up the anti-Zionist position, while trying to present it as though he's steel manning the argument. Just the anti-Zionists, they just want all Jews to be murdered by these filthy Arabs, because that's what his argument is, right? The hidden underlying premise here is that Arabs can't, stop themselves from murdering all the Jews because all they care about is anti-Semitism.
So, is anti-Zionism anti-Semitism in that case? Kind of. I understand why the Jewish people that say that anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. I understand why they say that, because that is the logical conclusion. But none of you retards have ever been pushed on that point in your entire life, because you don't have any conversations about this. None of you do.
Oh my gosh. If we end apartheid and genocide, then bad stuff might happen to Israeli Jews because I say so, which means we shouldn't do anything to stop apartheid and genocide. First of all, he always insists that preventing Israel from continuing to commit genocide would necessarily result in the dismantling of the State of Israel, and that the dismantling of the State of Israel would necessarily result in Palestinians returning to claim the homes that were stolen from them, and Palestinians returning to their homes would necessarily result in a complete and total ethnic cleansing of Jews from the region. That's a trio of ridiculous non sequiturs. Protesting genocide is simply protesting genocide, but I agree the State of Israel should be dismantled, so let's grant him that one. Does that necessitate a right of return for displaced Palestinians? No, not necessarily. I would advocate for that personally, but it's a discussion that would be had. I personally believe that anyone who is alive who had their home stolen from them should get it back. As for Jews becoming the minority, how the is that a concern that should outweigh genocide? And how is...
And also, again, why does that mean the ethnic cleansing of Jews? Okay? That argument is... unfortunately, why, liberal Zionists usually oppose having a conversation with me on this issue. The only self-identifying liberal Zionist that I've ever met that doesn't make this argument is Brad Lander, which is why I think he is in a unique position in comparison to the average liberal Zionist who will actually talk about the quote-unquote demographic concerns of Israeli Jews, which is a way to say if Arabs, if non-Jews outnumbered the Jews in the region, they would kill the Jews. That's not true. You are just doing the great replacement theory narrative. Okay? This is what white nationalists do in the United States of America. This is what they argue. White nationalists say non-whites are coming into the country. Well, they also say it's the Jews that are bringing the non-whites, but that's besides the point. They say non-whites are coming into the country and outpopulating the whites, and white culture is superior to non-whites. This is the whole underlying bullshit Nazi argument. Is this guy conservative or liberal? Tamashi, is this guy conservative or liberal? Do you like Jews? How about you make up your own mind by watching instead of asking silly questions like this?
Equivalent.
Because I'm neither a conservative nor a liberal, actually. I'm a secret third thing.
To ethnic cleansing. Again, Jews lived in Palestine prior to the Nakba. They'd be in way bigger numbers now than back then, and they would be the impediment to coexisting peacefully, not Palestinians. Lots of them would leave by choice because they wouldn't be able to enjoy the benefits of apartheid and occupation any longer. That's not the same as ethnic cleansing.
Like some of the Boers that left after the apartheid ended.
Which is what Israel is doing. When you're used to subjugating other people, equality feels like oppression, and it would take decades for things to equilibrate, with lots of hate crimes mainly in the direction of Palestinians, since plenty of Israelis would not leave and would be enraged by their belligerent imperialistic ethno-state being dismantled on Palestinians' behalf. But whatever challenges would arise, there's no way it would be worse than genocide. So stop acting like anti-Zionists are silly toddlers who just can't wrap their heads around diplomacy. It's pathetic.
People who inhabit a place don't deserve to continue inhabiting that place. Palestinians don't deserve Palestine. Well, it wasn't an apartheid ethno-state. Jews and Christians...
Was it? Was it not? All types of people lived happily ever after in the Ottoman Empire and all the preceding caliphates. There wasn't a single religion that was enforced. What does caliphate even mean? What is stupid? Everybody lived in...
Okay, now he's coming into my territory. Okay, I'm about to crack my knuckles and dive in. Okay, dick first into this argument. Yes. Under Ottoman rulership, okay, and this is notoriously, historically the case, under Ottoman rulership, in comparison to the rest of the world, Jews had safe harbor in the Ottoman Empire, whether it be Palestine or anywhere else. Okay. The idea that is the Ottoman Empire was also a religious caliphate, and that Jews were forced to pay jizya, which is a tax that non-Muslims paid, as opposed to serving in the military, as opposed to the taxes that Muslims paid, which was a higher percentage regardless, was easy living in comparison to everywhere else, and especially under Christian rulership, where pogroms were taking place. Okay? You will never find a real historian that will deny this fact. Okay? As a matter of fact, Jewish historians have routinely talked about how during the Inquisition, a lot of Jews that escaped Spain came to the Ottoman Empire because the Ottoman Empire offered them safe harbor. Anti-Semitism historically has been a very Christian thing. Regardless of the last 100 years of Zionist-induced hysteria, the idea that, Muslims and Jews have always warred against one another, it's bullshit. It has no basis in historic reality. Okay? Yes, it's a 1,500 years of historical Christian anti-Semitism, and then conflict born out of settler colonial occupation in British Mandate Palestine that turned into this religious battle. It's bullshit.
Harmony for 2,000 years, and then the Jew nation attack. Like, it's just so infantilizing and stupid too. It's an American perspective. This is why I know his wife is the whitest American possible. I don't even care if she's brown. She's the whitest American possible, because there's no way that anybody in this guy's family is remotely related to any part of the world outside of America.
Wow. Okay, first of all, my parents are Italian immigrants. Even my sister was born in Italy. I'm literally the only person in my entire family who was ever born in America, or anywhere outside of Italy for that matter, in recent history at least. Second, my wife is not white at all. She's Arab. Arabs are not white. Her parents fled Palestine in the 1970s. Her two oldest brothers were born there, while she and her youngest brother were born.
Dude, I love Professor Dave. What a goat. What a legend this guy is.
Here, we are both first-generation Americans. Her parents had their homes stolen from them twice, once separately when they were children during the Nakba, and once again together shortly before they fled the region. So my wife is Arab American and not white at all. None of that really matters, of course, since genocide is genocide no matter where my wife and I were born or grew up or where our families are from, and us being white or not white or American or non-American has no bearing on our ability to condemn genocide. But more importantly, without going back 2,000 years for whatever bizarre reason, Palestine prior to the Nakba was not an ethno-state or a caliphate or whatever the
Yeah, also not so subtle flex of being like, look at me, look how hot I am, and look at how hot my wife is. Like, you didn't need to do that, okay? Oh, like, I'm just making an argument. You ain't slick, Professor Dave. Oh, look at us. We're such an attractive couple. It's like, sick, dude. Sick. Yeah. Very not so subtle flex. We see you, Professor. Professor of sex up in here.
Implying being majority Arab Muslim does not mean ethnic or religious supremacy is codified into law. Muslims, Christians, and Jews did indeed coexist peacefully. There were shared cultural spaces and celebrations. My late father-in-law was friends with non-Muslims. So you can whine about anecdotal this or that, but you're not interested in learning about anyone's stories anyway. So there's no point trying to help you see another perspective than the Zionist one. So you can keep whining about how infantile it is to yearn for a reality without a genocidal ethno-state terrorizing the Middle East. Nobody gives a shit.
Well, it wasn't an apartheid ethno-state. Jews and Christians lived in Palestine and they got along.
Like, it was literally an apartheid ethno-state. Literally, it was one religion throughout the whole thing. And if you were a different religion, you were sectioned off in your own little place. And you couldn't even hold members in government. It was literally an apartheid under the empire, under the caliphates preceding the destruction of the Ottoman Empire, the fall of the Ottoman Empire. Like, literally, actually, definitionally.
No, it literally was not that. Christians and Jews could and did hold public office in Palestine prior to the Nakba, and nobody was sectioned off. They were culturally integrated. You're lying, like the worthless lying piece of shit that you are. But maybe if you yell a little louder, you'll fool more people. This is exactly what he would do if we were to debate, by the way. Just confidently lie while yelling over me nonstop while his idiot fans cheer like seals.
From choosing this slanderous title and thumbnail, you gotta get those
slanderous
clicks, right, Steven?
He is indistinguishable from a neo-Nazi, 100%. I'll own that easy. Actually, more mask off than most neo-Nazis would be because they realize they can't get away with this much crazy shit.
Sure, double down on calling me a neo-Nazi after you previously made a big deal about how you didn't call me that. You just said I used
Just the warning, you get brought up later on in an uncomfortable situation. What is it? Oh, is it Sex Pestiny groping my shit and being a drunk loser?
Neo-Nazi rhetoric. Well, now here it is nice and clear, so nobody can be mad at me for tanking this piece of shit's reputation at the end of the video, since he is outright calling me a neo-Nazi. Anyway, that's it for Destiny's response. The overwhelming majority of the reaction was him watching me demonstrating very clearly that Israel is committing genocide, and either saying nothing, chuckling to himself and spouting vacuous one-liners, or whining about totally inconsequential, unrelated shit. While
what is this? 2:14:20 when he gives back to D and Nancy shows some of your clips. Oh, and then he starts ripping into this other guy. I don't really know this guy, so I don't really care about it. Pangburn or whatever.
Touch bases after the fact.
Yeah, I don't know who the fuck this guy is, so I'm just gonna skip him. Sorry to this other guy.
Denying sexual predator because it makes you money, and you threw me under the bus for exposing him. 10, no idea what that means. I don't have an encyclopedic knowledge of his business activity. 11, no, not interested in playing the credentials game. Destiny is a college dropout, I believe. Who the f knows for Travis, and I don't care, but my degrees don't qualify me to speak authoritatively about geopolitics. I'm just a adult with a brain and a spine, so I call out genocide. Seriously, a reason. That's Pangburn. He could have just... That's why his loser cult shames anyone who votes third party, and it's why they attack legitimate progressives like democratic socialists such as Hassan Piker, who are devoted to real change and actually addressing wealth inequality. Destiny's job is to shame progressives into being less progressive to protect the establishment. Anyone trying to pressure the party into...
Well, I wouldn't even say job, because a job implies that he gets paid for it. I think he just has personal resentment, like deeply held personal resentment towards anyone and everyone that has ever made him feel small. And that's all that anchors his worldview. It's obsessive, but that's literally the only thing motivating him. I don't know if he gets paid by the DNC to try and make epic debate style arguments to make young Americans pro-liberalism. I don't know, pro-DNC.
Shifting leftwards from their current right-of-center position must be demonized. He's defending a sinking ship, and he's going to go down with it. And if you don't believe me, check this out.
Well, I do think that you should have said yesterday when Pisco moved it on you, JD Vance or AOC. I think that's a pretty easy answer.
The thing is I don't actually know that. Like, in a vacuum with no political influence, I don't know what JD Vance's political opinions are. Like, the guy was a more moderate. I
mean, I think if you're a political commentator, or at least you claim to be one, you should probably know what JD Vance's political influences are. I mean, he's written a book, he's had transformations throughout his life where he was, Yale graduate, was always a Peter Thiel blood boy, but went from being this like ultra lib kind of conservative liberal guy. What is this? Warning 225. Okay. I'll skip that part. Anyway, and then you know, called Trump Hitler, all this stuff to you know, his rise to power as the Peter Thiel inside guy in the current administration.
Republican type person. But the problem is JD Vance, like AOC, seems to have no capacity to deal with his own side, right? And that he's fully bought on to co-signing whatever crazy dick sucking shit Trump needs. So I mean, like, it's not like I would trust, even if Vance was more moderate, I don't know if I would trust him to govern more moderately if there were extremist voices in his camp. I also don't know how much he is actually like a crazy crypto loony after getting brainwashed and mind by Peter Thiel and everything.
Do you know who he is? What do you mean brainwashed and mind by Peter Thiel? Peter Thiel created JD Vance. Okay, go look at Narnia Capital and where they got all their money.
That's right. AOC, an actual progressive who is genuinely fighting for policy that will benefit the citizenry over the oligarchy, versus JD Vance, Trump's sidekick and Peter Thiel puppet, who is essentially an empty vessel for the oligarchy. Destiny just can't seem to make up his mind between them. Democracy versus fascism. It's a toss-up for him. Can you wrap your head around that? What more do you need to hear to understand what this douchebag is? Oh, and politics aside, there's another reason why Destiny hates Hasan specifically. It's because he wants to Hasan and he was rejected. Check out this clip from a few years ago. It's Destiny and Hasan back when they were more amicable, plus Andy Milonakis for some reason. Watch how Destiny just blatantly gropes Hasan over and over again in a way that would get him immediately canceled if Hasan were a woman.
Hey, got a little more. I see that. I'm so sorry. Okay, go ahead. It's booby time, isn't it? Can it be? No. Okay. Okay, just you need for these. Like, you gotta recover your muscles. I'm a serious food addict. I know, but like you need to, your muscles have to rebuild. After you work out, you need protein. You understand? Oh, you have straight alcohol too.
I had no idea this dude was bisexual at this point, by the way. Not that it, you know, makes any difference. I was still uncomfortable regardless. But at this point I don't think he had come out as like bisexual. This is worse than the Dems coming after you. I repressed that? No, I mean, I was just like, it was a weird thing that he was doing.
Yeah, did you want to get ready? Why do you think you could just sign on to our internet? You're using it right now. All right, sit down. I wash my hands with soap. Does it smell like soap? I don't want to smell it. Your boobs aren't going to grow if you don't. You need to sugar the trash cans. I'm so sorry. If I touch you too much, push my hand away, okay? I don't want to have a phone too. Okay. I'm going to touch you when I'm drunk. I know, dude. All right, stop. If I ever make you uncomfortable, let me know. Okay, stop.
Actually, he's a sociopath, so when he's drunk, all of these emotions that he's hiding inside of him to make it seem like he's this cool, calm, and collected guy who doesn't care. Stop rubbing me, dude.
Hey, guys. 1%. Just, I fell on you for a second. I'm so sorry. Stop, dude. Okay, stop. We live in an international market.
I know.
We're going to stay in America. We're going to go over here to China. Okay, dude. Well, China's is that where it is in Europe. They're going to go.
Alright, you don't have to like literally stand on top of me, dog.
Okay, stop.
Me, what a lecherous creep, right? He clearly has been reeling from this rejection ever since, given that
yeah, I don't even remember the extent of this, I'll be honest. Like, Jesus Christ, dude. Gross.
He made actual death threats against
Is
Hasan.
he drunk there? Yes.
Just because Hasan pointed out that his son sounds like a neo-Nazi. That really justifies murdering someone, Stephen? Really? This is not isolated either. Here's Hasan talking about all the doxing and other weird shit from Destiny.
It's perfectly okay to ban this harassing doxer from your events. I've seen people posting the logs of him asking Dan to create a stalking app to harass Hasan during his IRLs. I wanted to include the context of what he was last talking about 2 to 3 hours before asking him to do that. How base would it be if Hasan actually got... It was an honor-fed posting. How base would it be if Hasan actually got... Just a heads up, I'm going to be doing some mass harassment campaigns on every single journalist who gives this guy, he's talking about me, free interviews from now on. Someone is going to die soon in this space, I'm pretty sure. I don't know who, but there's nowhere to go on literally anything. Every single person is a pedophile child molester. Every issue is about infinite genociding Palestinians. Every single person is so fake and virtue signaling. There's literally nowhere else to go at this point. I'm not sure who, but I think it will happen soon. Like, the tankies like Hasan can do all the sex-based memes, propaganda memes, lib left, they're all, oh no, I can't touch that. That's too dramatic, and I need to be self-critical of other libs. It's actually so far beyond cucked. It's all over. Waiting for the Civil War reset or something. I mean, this is a guy who writes school shooter manifestos on a daily basis, pretty much, about me and anyone around me. And then there are so many people who are just like oblivious. There's so many people who are oblivious. 7 years of defamation, mass harassment, direct cyber stalking. It's just insane. Most people don't know who he is, but the ones who do know who he is find him to be a despicable little rat. And that makes sense. I mean, here he is in Israel, surrounded by his fans in the Israeli occupying forces.
Really? Yeah. Wait, shit, we should find him. We can try it after. I'm curious. Yeah. Okay. Have a good one. I'll see you around. You're next. Yeah.
Why didn't you say anything? Bro time traveled the victim blame. That is crazy. That is actually crazy. And in the video, you see me showing that I'm uncomfortable on numerous occasions and like physically pushing him off, telling him to stop. I did. So yeah, no, he is actually legally stalking and harassing me. It has definitely gotten to that point. And not only that, but he's also openly admitted it on numerous occasions. So I think there's sufficient evidence to do so. I mean, if I had literally done a fraction of what Destiny has been saying about me, trying to identify where I'm at in real time, saying someone's got to do it, someone should kill this guy. Hasan has said enough that is like, it's worthy of killing him. And also openly admitting to harassment of this sort. And on top of that, it's been 7 years and he's not let up. And his freak ass audience are constantly trying to, intercept me in the real world at the direction of Destiny, It is stalking. It is organized harassment. It is organized stalking and organized harassment.
This is Hasan's shit to deal with. I'm just showing everyone how completely deranged Destiny is. This toxic behavior is encouraged in his fans as well. When Destiny got banned from Twitch for hateful conduct, including using racial slurs, his fans brigaded as usual and made a big stink over anti-Semitism on the platform because Hasan exists. This resulted in all kinds of controversy for Twitch and sponsors pulling spots. Continuing with what a heinous piece of shit Destiny is, here's some more miscellanea.
It's actually kind of scary, like how close I was to getting people together to go down to his house to kill him and his family. Or it would have just been him and his father. Because I didn't know anything about it. Dude, that was some of the most up shit in my entire life. I was so close to doing it, but I was making so much money on Twitch, and I don't know if Nathan was involved in yet, but for whatever reason, I decided that the current life I had wasn't worth the risk of. Oh my god, I was so close to this address. I had streets mapped out, and you had no idea. That's when I first started getting interest in like owning a weapon. I got a permit to own a gun and everything. Holy
Yes, Destiny is talking about how he almost killed a kid and his father. The context is that some kid was engaging in cyber attacks that harmed his income at the time, and apparently the police wouldn't do anything, so his solution was to murder him and his dad. But don't worry, he didn't do it. Not because murder is bad, but because he didn't want to jeopardize his awesome life making so much money. What a great guy. And now for the meat of it. Remember that lawsuit I told you about last time but didn't go into many details? Destiny said, no way, he's lying. Pangburn said, oh my gosh, Dave could get sued for slandering Destiny. Nope, what I said was true, and here's a quick summary of that and more before diving into all the details. Destiny was caught sending non-consensually recorded pornographic material to a 17-year-old and receiving pornographic material from her as well. This qualifies as CSAM, or child sexual abuse material. He also shared that CSAM with his friends in a private Discord in order to find the minor he was soliciting. He tried repeatedly to fly her out to be with him, despite making no attempt to confirm she wasn't underage. Next, he was sexting the wife of a groiper, which is like those Nick Fuentes types, and it involved age play molestation fantasies focused on her own children. His ex-girlfriend saw the messages between the two, as well as beach photos of the wife's teenage daughters and their feet. I don't shame people for their fetishes or sexual preferences, but I do shame them for violating consent and for stuff with minors. So let's dig through the receipts for all this shit. Okay, first up, Destiny knows that you need consent from people to share pornographic material that features them, right?
I kind of have my little archive of Coomer material that I'll send to people if I want to. There were girls that I talked to past that I'd sent stuff of either me or Melina, and Melina talked to me and she was like, hey, if you're going to send any videos to new girls we haven't talked about, let me know that first. Because she wanted to be careful. It was like, oh, okay, sure, that's fine. I didn't think about it at the time because I didn't think it mattered, but yeah, sure. So I thought about that. So that was an issue that me and Melina had that we talked about and then we resolved, right?
Oh, good. He does know that, except he has violated this consent with an incredible number of people, including his ex-wife, Melina.
Things that's been done to me without consent or anything, that has been my past 5 years. Nothing has happened with consent with anyone, not me and not anyone else. There's been no consent.
Okay, so who was well into his 30s Destiny sharing non-consensual pornography with back in April 2022? A trusted long-term partner, perhaps? Nope, meet Rose, a brand new Twitter account looking very suspicious for an 18-year-old selling not safe for work material. Even thirsty Destiny seemed suspicious, but not quite enough.
After this is fine, right?
1 day old account seems legit. No ID, no problem. Just write something on a piece of paper. That's good enough for me. It's not like I'm getting off on you being underage or anything. Destiny.
They're calling James Carville Hasan Carville. I saw that. Yeah. Wait, let's continue.
often claims she said she was 19, he's lying. So, barely even knowing this obviously underage person, he starts sending the porn. Lots of it. Some non-consensually filmed, the rest non-consensually shared, and receiving it too. Anyway, exchanging porn is fun and all, but Destiny wants to bang. Where are you? Fly to me with my frequent flyer miles? I'm gonna be in some other places. Fly there to meet me? How about this place? Let's meet, let's meet, let's meet. He's relentless about it, but she just says her parents won't let her or something of the sort. Later, he will give photos of her to the website Kiwi Farms for them to figure out who and where she is, which qualifies as doxing. He wasn't even censoring her genitals.
Yeah, what was insane about this, by the way, is that not only is it CSAM, but he also posted this on the notorious doxing website in order to goad the people in that doxing website to be like, oh, you'll never find anything about her. And then they did. He was just like facilitating and distributing CSAM and then also goading a bunch of psychos into literally finding this person, which they did. They found him.
When he did so, despite having firm reason to believe it was CSAM. He later claimed that he was baiting them into looking, which would be stupid if he knew she was 17, and indeed it was, since he never verified her age because he didn't want to know. Then in November 2024, we meet Solo, Rose's boyfriend. Solo started by confronting him about the stuff with Rose. She was underage, and you knew it. Destiny figured Solo was just trying to scare him, so he ignored it. Then 5 days later, Solo persists, and then leaks all the porn Destiny sent to Rose. Destiny doesn't seem to care much. What's the worst that could happen? Enter Pixie, aka Jane Doe from the...
Yeah. At this point, at first, this is where the Destiny dick sucking video it arrives on the scene, and he's over here like people are speculating that it's actually Nick Fuentes whose penis he's sucking, and he's just like, oh, I can't believe this got leaked, and he just like kind of leans into it as well. He like memes about it, and it was very weird. And at the time, I was like, look, I don't know where this stuff came from. I'm not going to entertain it. I'm not going to talk about it. But I guess in his mind, he thought like this would be an acceptable way to redirect the attention to not what he was doing, knowing full well that he had exchanged pornographic material non-consensually with a minor and received CSAM in exchange for it. So he was just like, haha, Nick Fuentes, right? Like, so the thing is, we still don't know to this day if it was Nick Fuentes or not. He just kind of leaned into it, but I think that was just a way to redirect people's attention.
Lawsuit. She found out Destiny shared her pornography without explicit consent and was not pleased. He usually counters this with some song and dance about implied consent since she shared things with him, but it's bullshit. She had consent to share.
And these freaks like XQC love watching his videos that dunk on you. Yes, that's why I'm saying like XQC is in some respects irredeemable. Like there is this very interesting parasociality that comes with, I guess, content creators in this space, myself included, but there are certain content creators that are in his cult that self-identify as orbiters and basically they debase themselves all the time. And it's very strange. I don't know why XQC loves him so much and still loves him to this day. Even though he's a whole ass weirdo. I get why Asmongold aligns with him at times because like they have the same enemy, me. If you were the one getting accused of this heinous shit, I bet XQC be farming the fuck out of it. Are you kidding me, dude? Are you kidding me? XQC has accused me of heinous shit. Defamatory claims being made by Destiny as a way to redirect away from his own personal literal crimes and court cases. That's the other side of the story. Anytime this guy does some shit and gets in trouble, he immediately will go and find a way to concoct a story where they'll say, no, Hasan did this actually. And it works every time for his cult, and it gets elevated by all of these other additional communities who despise me for political differences or despise me because I called him out for gambling. And all of those other ops that I have will genuinely boost this outrage. A big part of the reason why there's like so many fuck Hasan content creators on the internet is for this reason. Now, Destiny himself is not exactly a relevant figure, but he can disseminate Kiwi Farm style information, oftentimes made up, to and make it as easily accessible as possible for so many of these like slop tubers that just hunt Reddit for interesting stories. And none of those guys do their due diligence. They don't have any interest or care for truthful sentiment, and they'll just blast it out into the ether. And that's how you arrive at a bunch of like straight up rapists, sex pests, abusers, or, you know, crypto gambling casino perverts who have designed a narrative where like I am the worst villain on the internet. And as long as they just keep hitting that button over and over again, a lot of dumb, deluded, idiotic, apolitical fan bases will unironically turn around and go, yeah, you're right. Nookstaku is another one of these guys. He like literally went to Israel after October 7. The weird weird guy with hentai shit, like CSAM style hentai stuff, lolly hentai stuff all over his Discord. And when they get called out, they will just turn around and go, well, Hasan. Yeah, the anime weeb guy. Rape Tone openly admitted in a court case with his ex, who was suing him for stalking and sexual abuse, rape, who won that court case, by the way. Rape Tone lost that court case. That Rape Tone straight up admitted in the court deposition that he started farming Hasan content because it was the easiest thing to do, and that's how he could maintain his relevance. But you aren't even doing anything like that. How does it even deflect? It doesn't matter. Repeat a lie often enough and it becomes truth in the minds of so many people. And because there is a fairly aggressive mass harassment operation around not just myself, but around anyone that I have existed with. Because like if someone comes out, if a content creator sticks their neck out, they get humiliated, they get slandered endlessly, they get attacked endlessly. XCC still mad at you for supposedly you having alluded that he assaulted his ex? I did not do that. I think that's his cope. No, I brought up a hypothetical saying that if he talks, I still remember exactly what he's referencing. I said, if he talks like this, people are going to assume something bad about him that he didn't do. And it doesn't matter. That's his cope. He has to find, deep down inside, he understands that there's no real reason for him to carry this level of resentment. And that is precisely the reason why. That is precisely the reason why he has to like try to find something that he can hold on to justify or legitimize the level of enmity he has for me. That's it. That's the real reason. Yeah, he'll never admit that. It's fine. You can roll the tape and go back to it. But I think he exaggerated. He just didn't understand the point I was making. And he will forever farm anger and resentment in my direction. It's fine. He's just one of those guys. There isn't really an unlimited ceiling for this sort of stuff. Eventually it just peters out. You just become an obsessive and you know, you'll succumb to nothingness. Yeah, meanwhile, he literally accused me and Pokemon of covering up sexual assault. And then basically walked it back and apologized meekly at the time because we were against crypto casino gambling on the platform. In any case, yeah. As I was saying, such weird lore, man, have only followed you for a year and a half. I mean, I rarely ever get into this stuff, but this is the stuff that follows me everywhere I go because of the nature of this space. A lot of people don't understand that live streaming is an unbelievably toxic space. And most people just kind of stick to themselves. Most people just kind of stick to their little corner at this point. But shit gets cultish, clicky, stalking, harassment, doxing, all of this stuff from both like fans and haters alike. And then content creators and their communities turn on one another. It sucks. It is what it is. But ultimately, the reason why I don't talk about this kind of stuff is because it's basically been more than 6 years at this point, and it's been relentless. And there's not anything I can do about it. There's no way to deal with it, you know?
He didn't. Cherry, Stasia, Abby MC, these are other women who were also exposed in the same revenge porn leak to Rose. Plenty of incriminating testimony here, all saying he did not have.
It's so funny because again, no one gives a shit because everyone immediately is like, this guy. Yeah, he says he has no plans to campaign with controversial streamer. Okay. And then he repeated the same thing over and over again that he's been repeating, which is, once again, he said he hasn't talked to Senate Democratic leadership or the caucus campaign arm about Piker, but his record of publicly interacting with Piker, including at a pool party just before the primary, remains a sore point among some Michigan Democrats. The back and forth over Piker has irked other Michigan Democrats who see it as a sideshow distracting from the efforts to hold outgoing Senator Gary Peters' seat and flip several House districts. At an earlier El Sayed event in Ann Arbor, Rep. Debbie Dingell vented her frustrations. Don't any reporter ask me again about Hasan Piker, calling the controversy a move by the Republicans to divide Democrats. Is the reason he exercises and looks buff why he has so many followers, she quipped. Perhaps because I've been fighting for progressive values that many Americans identify with over a decade, and many recognize it despite the manufactured outreach from reactionary media outlets, ? Piker replied. Meanwhile, Republicans have reveled in the Democratic divides. They didn't revel in the Democratic divides. They created the Democratic divides. And it's not a real divide anyway. But yeah, ultimately, he says the exact same thing he said over and over again, which is most people are a lot more worried about things like, what are you going to do about my groceries? What are you going to do about my healthcare? What are you going to do about the fact that I cannot afford to enroll my kid in baseball, even though my kid's really great at baseball, I'll say, I said, in a banquet hall in the Detroit suburbs? Those are things I'm talking about. And the effort to make this race about a streamer in LA is actually kind of laughable. It doesn't matter. He will reiterate this every single day until November. And hopefully people will eventually move on to something else. I've seen a liberal on Insta calling you a far-right psyop while falling for a far-right psyop. Unbelievable. That's my favorite. When liberals will be like, the far-right manufactured fuck Hasan media cycle has gotten me to believe that he actually is a product of the far right. Lots of DSA candidates were eager to use Hasan Piker's platform and influence during their primaries. Not many, only male like Kuros coming to his defense amid pile-on. I mean, now that he said this, I suspect that people will come out and say shit, but I don't think that, I don't think anybody has to. I'm a big boy. I can defend myself. You are kind of, though, in a reaction to the far right kind of way. The smart thing for them is just not get into the weeds of things. No, I think the smart thing would have been to nip this in the bud a long time ago and to immediately be like, you guys don't, like, no one ever made a big fuss about Charlie Kirk campaigning with candidates, and Charlie Kirk has said actually heinous shit in comparison to what you think Hasan is saying. Okay? That's it. But of course, no one is going to do that because Charlie Kirk was a party apparatchik. Charlie Kirk was a part of the organ of propaganda for the Republican Party. I am not. I am not a part of the organ of propaganda for the Democratic Party. As a matter of fact, I have an antagonistic relationship with the Democratic Party, and that's precisely the reason why the party bosses are actively utilizing the Republican-created PSYOP to try and purge me from their ranks somehow. It's not going to work. It's unbelievably stupid. It's not going to work because the resentment that people have, whether they know me or don't know me, is not going to go away. That's it. These issues are not going to go away. But once again, I'm in this unique predicament where I'm a Twitch streamer. I have a lot of enemies. I'm a Twitch streamer that talks about contentious subjects for hours at a time. Oftentimes off the cuff. Okay? Oftentimes off the cuff in an environment where there is a steady flow of back and forth communication with anonymous accounts to the hundreds of thousands every single day. Okay? This is landmine after landmine for a lot of political campaigns to align with. Okay? I'm both in this serious space. I now exist in the serious world of political campaigning and the unserious world of Twitch streaming. So I'm serious enough that AIPAC and Democratic Party bosses will try to identify me as a significant threat and try to eradicate the influence that I may have, but also not so serious that because I'm not a part of like the traditional media apparatus, not even a podcaster, right? Because now at least the boomers understand podcasting now. They understand YouTube, but they don't understand Twitch streaming, right? So not serious enough for them to like constantly pick fights and constantly defend me. But this also creates a unique problem, because if you don't defend some of the principles that I hold on to in the way that Bernie Sanders has been able to do, even though he's 857 years old, he has literally been able to say, look at the totality of his argument. Obviously, a lot of people understand what he's saying and identify with it rather than, choice quotes that you get upset about. If an 87-year-old man can say that, I think you guys can say it too, especially because otherwise you just look silly. If you try to constantly sidestep and say, well, this guy's just a Twitch streamer, why the fuck are we focusing on him? That's not a bad way to deflect. That is a decent way to deflect because it is a silly argument to present. But eventually people are going to start saying, well, why the fuck are you going to this anti-Semitic terrorist's Twitch stream to court his audience? The fuck's wrong with you? And at that point, you have to just say the truth and be like, he's not an anti-Semitic terrorist. That's why I'm courting his audience. Do you understand? But we're stuck in this like weird reality where everybody that identifies this community as a valuable community to win favor with, identify this movement broadly as a movement that they want to associate with, can't say it out loud because everyone will harass them and be like, what are you talking about? Look at these 7 million different clips that I clipped out of context over the course of 22,000 hours of political commentary. So that's it. And I can't expect people to know the context of every single thing that I've ever said. And even if they were to know the context of every single thing that I've ever said, I can't expect them to run around and defend the context of every single thing that I said, because then it would become an unserious campaign about defending me. And I don't want that. I want these candidates to defend their policies. I want these candidates to put their best foot forward. Okay? One of the greatest examples that they could present is just to say, look, if you want to understand Hasan, go watch his content. If you want to understand Hasan, you can talk to him directly. I'm not a spokesperson. He's not my spokesperson. You want to talk to him? He's an accessible media figure. Just say that and move on. You know what I mean? But I think this last 48-hour media cycle has been fairly illustrative of the depths that a lot of Zionists will sink to in an effort to try and create enough controversy that people kind of shy away, that they're not going to turn around and defend. They're not going to, like, Abdul knows exactly the context of the statement that I was making. It's one that everyone in the anti-Zionist movement, anyone who's even remotely critical of Israel, even if they're Zionists themselves, have made, right? The idea that Israel associating everything that it does with Judaism makes Jews less safe. This is not a new concept. Everyone has talked about it. Hannah Arendt talked about it before the inception of the nation state of Israel 4 years prior. Abdul himself has said similar statements. You know, ultimately, the truth doesn't really matter, because we're not living in an environment that values the truth. And we're seeing firsthand that there are plenty of active politicians, centrist politicians with tremendous power. Like the leader of the Democratic Party, Hakeem Jeffries, is like going on television and being like, I'm going to condemn Hasan. It's my number one priority every day until November. So, these guys they're going to keep lying, and there's not really much we can do other than to be like, look, we can address the lies. You guys can address the lies, obviously. You can show the truth, and you can also redirect people to see my commentary directly rather than this negative filter that is applied in mainstream news or through my haters. You understand? That's it.
Mission. Destiny non-consensually recorded some content and shared that and other content non-consensually, and when backlash hit, he and his loser cult fabricated rape allegations against someone else regarding one of his victims to deflect some of the heat from him. Altogether, there are currently 5 women who have credibly accused Destiny of sex crimes. They have proven they are in the videos shared non-consensually or shared logs of him sending them their stuff. He does nothing but dox and harass the shit out of all of them. And most importantly, that he was exchanging pornographic material with a minor was confirmed in court. Sorry, Pangburn, porn, no false allegations in my content. So what about Rose's boyfriend, the leaker? Surely Destiny would help expose a guy who leaked revenge porn of him and all his good friends. Conveniently, Destiny had nothing to give the police, despite having proof he solicited a minor and that her boyfriend was complicit in it, and he knew how he was doing it. He already had a year-long head start on putting together a packet for the FBI, but no dice. So essentially, Rose was an Illinois minor being trafficked by Solo, who coerced her into making CSAM for Destiny and then leaked everyone's explicit videos when he refused to speak to him. Now, another problem is that Destiny held on to the CSAM.
Did you have Sherry's consent in order to audio record? Yeah, keep pivoting. Keep pivoting. Yes, I did. Yeah, I did. Yeah.
You did?
Yes, I did. Yep. Now what?
That's amazing. Did you have audio recorded, or do you have consent to audio record all the gay men that you had sex with?
There was one. Yes, I did. Now what?
Oh, okay. Do you think it's prudent to send all of your homemade pornography to somebody you've known for 2 weeks?
Yes, I do. It was hot. I cummed.
How long did you hold on to the pornography of a 17-year-old?
As soon as it was obviously no longer required to have done the thing. I'm not going to answer questions about my current court case, Connor, when every 2 days there's a new motion filed. Connor, do you think that is prudent for me?
While you're being sued for sexual misconduct?
I'm engaging with a suicidal man right now, so I don't know. You tell me, Connor. So now
Solo's identity has been public since January 2026, yet Destiny still hasn't given info to the authorities or filed a civil suit. He faced a sanctions hearing for spoliation on August 19th. He's accused of withholding his DMs with the trafficker from Discovery, only to leak them to his YouTube audience after Discovery closed. Good thing the plaintiff's lawyer was watching the stream for that, huh? So he had to delete some videos or pictures he received from the Rose account, but he's not able to admit he deleted them because it would potentially be responsive to his discovery on a civil case. He also deleted 5 years worth of explicit videos on Google Drive and all the attachments to all the conversations with Rose, Solo, Abby MC, and so forth. Destiny claims he archived them all just in case, but refuses a neutral third-party inspection to prove Pixie's video wasn't shared non-consensually among those archives. Then there is the Groiper husband threatening Destiny over an online affair with his wife Britt and lewd photos of his daughter. I'll let this other guy explain it, a former Destiny pal named Connor.
He started sexting a girl on Discord named Britt. Britt and Devil, the man that I was just talking to.
Forget one allegation. Imagine if you have one clip, even a fraction as bad as this. Holy shit, I know. There's this thing that happens on the internet that I think also harms the left broadly as well. And that is the idea that if you just kind of say you're a piece of shit all the time, the expectations that people have of you are unbelievably low, right? So people generally see Destiny as a piece of shit. He says he's a sociopath. He says he's a bad guy. Same with Asmongold as well. Asmongold's like, I'm dirty. I don't care about myself. And I think a lot of people just give bad people a pass, especially if they're just openly saying that they're bad people. And for someone like myself, if you're on the left generally, if you're nominally on the left on the internet, everyone just assumes that you're always cynically virtue signaling, that you simply cannot believe the things that you're saying, but you must be saying it to present yourself as a morally righteous person. Now, of course, this argument is stupid because it requires the person in opposition to you to basically admit that you have the morally correct position, which I always find very strange, right? But most people simply cannot contend with the fact that, you know, someone like myself genuinely holds these positions, genuinely maintains these positions. So they constantly look for things that showcase hypocrisy. The mere presence, the mere implication of hypocrisy enough, even if it's not hypocritical with your own moral system whatsoever, is enough for people to say, see, we got him. Meanwhile, if you're just a bad guy, if you say you're a bad guy, you can basically be a crypto gambling casino's slave for $100 million and farm that shit to your young, impressionable audience for, half a decade, and no one will actually go, well, that's kind of fucked up. I'll give you an example. I went to Cuba on a humanitarian aid mission, right? And a part of that was also to investigate the ways in which the American embargo was causing tremendous suffering to the regular folks in Cuba, regular Cuban society. And I did that. But at the same time, I was wearing clothes that people either identified or actually made up the price point on. And the clothes were expensive. So the entire story turned into, look at this fucking hypocrite there to flex on the Cubans. Okay? This is a great example of this, where people will just, straight up turn around. I turn hot dogs into hot logs. Lol, this fucking terrorist is still around. That's a funny username, chatter. See, this is what I mean. I wore your merch when I went to Cuba in 2024. Hell yeah. So that's not an instance of hypocrisy whatsoever. But for a lot of people, I think it was easier to just, instead of reflecting on their inaction and their disinterest in doing something that will help others, it was much easier to immediately attack the person who was trying by saying, oh, he's doing it, but he's doing it for show. He's doing it to flex on the Cuban population, right? That way I feel better about my inability to address this crisis. That way I feel better about my disinterest in helping others. Because see, that guy who's out there doing the work is actually doing it for insert fucking made up bullshit cynical reason. This is just how a lot of people operate. This is just how a lot of people operate. It is what it is. I choose to believe in the goodness of people. I choose to believe that people ultimately are kind deep down inside. It's just hard to dig deep and find that kindness in them. But yeah, my coworker said he's so performative. That's what I mean. So many people looked at that and were like, oh, he's performative. How about you do performance like that then? I mean, that would be awesome. The world would be a better place if more people were, I guess, quote unquote, performative in that regard.
Are military veterans who both have PTSD and military sexual trauma. In November, Devil contacted me and said that his wife was sexting with Destiny and engaged in role play scenarios in which they pretended to be each other's step parents, step family, and they role played molesting their kids. Then they also pretended to be the kids themselves. So they contacted me in November. Devil said exactly that. Britt said that they only engaged in babysitter role play and it wasn't that serious. So since I had conflicting narratives, I confronted Destiny and I wrote him a letter that I read to you on stream.
For further confirmation of what went down, Britt anonymously called into someone named Mr. Girl.
Why is being performative okay? Shouldn't you want to stick to your principles no matter the case? Dog, I wasn't being performative. I'm making a joke about people claiming that I was being performative. Why is this? Do you guys ever have like an actual argument, or do you just always have to be fucking insincere? All the DGG bots are in here, by the way. Look, Cooking with Simon. Did you say old enough to count, old enough to mount? Look at this. Look. Immediately, as soon as their cult daddy is getting attacked for shit that he's fucking done, immediately the conversation has to shift over to, why is being performative okay? You literally justify being performative. I wasn't saying I'm being performative, chatter. I was saying, if you consider that to be performative, then how about you perform in a similar manner? Okay? This is not me saying I'm being performative. Okay? Are you performing as a person with an intellectual disability? Or is this just how you are normally, and it's the only way that you can argue on the internet? Here, now perform how offended you are, right? Now we will play the role of guy who is offended. How dare you say such a heinous thing? I like your tie again today, King. Well, thank you. In any case, I can't finish this video for today. And the reason why I can't is because I have a phone call. Hasan Reactions is one of the best ones in the React channel.